Sure will be with us. Jordan Kinch is back in the studio. Gang's all here. Hope you can make it in your plans to get out to Rufino's and join us for lunch. We'll share the lunch specials here with you in just a minute. Rich, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing good.
You know, we did the podcast earlier in the week. I went back and watched some of the plays again. I went back and watched. Don't judge me. I went back and watched the USC game again, or at least some of it. Not all of it. Am I crazy, or is this defense getting better?
I've been saying they're getting a lot better.
I'm not breaking any news here.
No,
They're better, right?
They're getting a lot better. I mean, the reason the stats are so bad are for 3 bust plays a game. I mean, they give up some big plays, and that's an issue that we got to get fixed. But, I mean, nobody's driving down the field, beating their butts play after play. I mean, they're making their stops. They just got to figure out how to eliminate the big plays.
And for the last couple of games, they largely have. Now, they got lucky with the Harris bust, okay? That should have been a big play for Ole Miss.
51-yard touchdown run in this one. I mean, there were still 2 to 3 in this one that were just there.
Yeah. So let's talk about that 51-yard touchdown run for a second, because this is one of the plays we highlighted on the podcast. You want to see the podcast, go to YouTube, Handycast, and this is one of the plays that we were able to highlight. It was a 4th and 1, and they've got this thing pretty much bottled up. But Whit Weeks, who played a fabulous game, made a decision to try to blow this thing up and stop it for no gain. He gambled, okay, which on a 4th and 1 is not the worst thing in the world. He put the safety in a bad position of having to guess. And
then we had a missed tackle on the backside.
You had a missed tackle on the backside. Okay. I'm not excusing it. It's not what you want, but it's at least understandable.
9 players shut that play down on the front side, and then it bust out the back.
And so last year, 11 players. it felt like, busted out the back. So the assignments are better. Mm-hmm. The technique is better.
I mean, let's be honest, coaching all around is a lot better with these guys. These guys are getting it. A lot of the guys that we've seen, they were here last year, and they're playing like new players this year. I think.
Give me an example.
Yeah. Savion Jones I didn't want to hear his name last year. He is making a lot of plays this year. Braden Swinson was a guy that, he made some plays, but he's now a guy that is leading tops in the country in, tackles for loss and sacks.
Sacks, yeah.
I mean, look, the corners, Zai is – I saw something on Twitter or whatever it's called this morning. He's the highest graded PFF corner in football right now.
Yeah, he graded out at I think it was 88 this past week, which is unheard of. It's not even a sustainable grade over multiple games.
It's just making multiple plays. I mean, that's one that we saw flashes last year. Him in that key role this year, he makes plays time and time again. It's just there's a lot more playmakers on this team, and the coaches are putting them in positions to make plays.
Brian Kelly promised that they were going to shorten up their rotations in the secondary last week. Boy, did they. Yeah. Alexander and Stamps at the corners, Ryan and Gilbert at the safeties, and Burns at the star. Played all but, I want to say, about 6 snaps. Yeah. Spears got a couple of plays in. I think Toviano got 1. Those were the guys. Those would have been the guys that they would have had out there in the opener, save that Alexander at the time was still coming back from the injury, wasn't ready to play. So they had Ryan up at the corner. Mm-hmm. Well, we know his better position is safety. They did that out of necessity. I say that to say that these are the 5 guys that they want out there. These are the 5 most experienced guys, I think, that they could put out there. And it seems like now they get it. Or at least they did in this game.
Look, I mean, Burns played his best game as an LSU Tiger last week. Yeah. That was one of the games that just – he made plays that he's taken a lot of heat in years past, and for missed tackles and coverage. But he played lights out last week.
Is it because he was? I don't even know what to ask you. Why was he so much better? I mean, I saw the plays, but what's he doing now that he wasn't doing then?
He's not rotating from safety to star to different positions. We said that losing Harold Perkins was never a great thing. I mean, he was our most explosive player. But what it was going to do, it was going to simplify everything. nobody was playing multiple positions because they had to make different changes when Harold Perkins needed to get in certain situations with what they were doing on the field. Now everybody's playing one position, and I think just people are more comfortable. They're settling into it. They're more confident in their assignments. They are spending 100% focus on one position instead of two. I just think it simplified things for them.
I'm glad you said it because that's what I thought, but it means more coming from you because you played. That's exactly what I see. I see a team that's playing faster on defense because they're not guessing. They know assignments. They're comfortable. That's what that experience on the back end is providing you. Greg Penn's played a lot of football for you. He had a good game. Alexander's a ninth-year guy, whatever. I mean, these guys have played a lot of football, and now that they're not bouncing all over. And this is not a bash Harold Perkins thing. Yeah. He's a tremendous talent, a tremendous football player. They just didn't know what to do with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when he's good at things on different sides of it. Like it's not like he's an 85%, put him here and let him rush the end, block, play DN, but he's also pretty good at coverage. They had to move in so many different places that you had to learn multiple positions.
And when you do that, it's just going to bog your mind down a little bit, and you're not going to be able to play as fast.
Yeah, and especially when you're playing with younger guys. I mean, you have Whit Weeks, you got freshmen out there, and seniors, they can learn multiple roles. They've done it. They've played it probably at some point. We got younger guys. It makes them slow down. So
that's the older guys. Let's talk about a couple of the younger guys. You've been high. The defensive tackles. Look, when Jacoby and Guillory went down, it was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
A couple of these young guys, you're very high on Ahmad Bro.
Yeah, Ahmad Bro's he's just violent with his hands. I mean, he plays a lot older than a freshman. I mean, he's a guy that from game one, I think he had like 5 reps in the UFC game, 6 reps, and then each week he got more, and you get to see him get better and better each week with the technique, using his hands, keeping his hat out of the defender to where he can see where the ball's going. And I think it's a mix. I mean, Shan's doing really well with it too. He had a really big game last week. Relaford makes plays off the edge. Womack was making plays. I mean, I'm getting excited about 2025, thinking about the amount of these defensive linemen that are coming back, and that they could be the LSU of old where you just had game wreckers up front.
We have seen them coached up. I mean, right in front of our eyes. We asked them, get better, okay? They're better than they were 3 games ago. They're better than they were 6 games ago. They're damn sure better than they were last year. Yeah. And it's largely the same guys. I mean, it's not like a couple of these freshmen are playing well, but it's not like they had somebody come in like
Savion, Swenson.
These are more experienced guys. It's not like they had. I'm trying to think of the biggest impact freshmen. It's not like they had a Tyrann Mathieu come in here and go, oh wow, this guy's all over the field. Or Perkins, 2 years ago. They're just getting steady contributions from some of the younger guys, but they're getting most of this from the upperclassmen.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know who Ahmad Bro was at the USC game. I found out later looking at the stats. He played a few plays, but watching him go next week and then to the next week to where he's starting and just starting to contribute a lot more. I mean, just like you said, you didn't have that flash freshman that just came in all world. This guy just got better each week.
And it's going to be necessary for them to contain a quarterback this week who's dangerous.
Yeah.
That's the one word I can use for him. He's dangerous. He's not consistent, but he can big plays and bad plays. There's been a ton of both. And we watched a week ago when the Saints played the Buccaneers, and in the first half, Spencer Rattler was easily able to get outside the pocket, buy himself some time, make some throws on the run, and the Saints were, had a reasonable first half. The second half, Tampa widened. They kept him more contained. The numbers went down, and Tampa ran away with the game. Taylon Green makes so many plays outside of the pocket that I want to put one end in Oklahoma and the other one in Tennessee, okay? But they've got to, especially with this knee injury that he's nursing, they've got to keep him as much as possible in the pocket. If Taylon Green beats you from the pocket, then God bless. Okay, he just beat you. But if you let him get outside, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to, Matt had somebody on the other day. They were talking about that Arkansas is number 1 in third down conversions, and most of them are him scrambling in third and long.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's something you can't let happen because what we do really good this past week, shut down first down, second down, third down was a little bit of an issue where they made, they got into whatever it was.
They made 11 out of 22, but the average yards to go was almost 9.
Yeah.
Now, that's a little bit skewed because they had a 3rd and 37 at one point, and they had another in the
20-something, I thought.
In the overtime, they had 3rd and 25.
Okay.
So let's say it's skewed by a yard and a half. 3rd and 7 is still
solid.
That's still.
And that's what we're saying. You can't let him start escaping and making 3rd and 7s with the legs to extend drives because that's going to wear the defense out. You're going to start to lose a little bit of confidence. I mean, this is one game where I'd love to have Harold Perkins at a spy on
as
this
a
guy.
spy. Yeah, I'm going to get ready for me to say that Alabama week too when they got to play Milroe. But if they can keep him, like I said,
who do you think they put a spy on? I think Weeks could do it. Weeks, he moves fast. I don't know if I want that. Maybe Burns gets side to side, but they're going to have a guy in 3rd and 7 to watch Green because that's where he makes his plays.
I don't have anybody better than Weeks that I can tell you.
I want Weeks. He's more of just a sure tackler. You got to have a sure tackler on it.
And you got to have somebody that can accelerate. 2 years ago, Perkins looked like Lawrence Taylor out there. I mean, he was just closing on everything that they tried to do. I don't know that Weeks can do that. I mean, that would be a big ask. If you can hold Green to not with the sack yardage, but if you can just hold him under, say, 40 yards rushing, 40 to 50 yards rushing, don't let him extend those plays and make those big plays because he'll throw you one.
Yeah.
If you keep him, he's got 5 interceptions. If you keep him contained, he'll make a mistake most of the time. But if he gets out there and he can start freelancing, he's a dangerous guy.
That's what we don't want to see.
No, we absolutely not. All right, we're here at Ruffino's. Lock of the Week Friday is presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investment. Restaurant opens at 11 o'clock. Hope we can see you out here for lunch. This is Live at Lunch. Richard Dixon, I'm Charles Hannegriff, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch. It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And remember, you can always get the show on demand, the new LouisianaSports.net or 104.5ESPN.com. New podcast up right now on YouTube, Handycast. Richard and I broke down a good part of the film from the Ole Miss game. Rich, we spent a lot of time talking about the spot, how good the spot was for LSU. 7 straight games for Ole Miss, week off for the Tigers, night game. This spot is not quite the opposite, but it's got a lot of characteristics. Arkansas's coming off of an off week. Yeah. LSU's coming off of an emotional video. We feel rush fade.
Yeah.
Okay, we talk about it all the time. We're handicapping. But Arkansas had a field rush too. It was just 2 weeks ago. They've been kind of basking in this 2-week glow of we beat Tennessee. Okay. I don't know what the week obviously it benefits them the week off, but what's it like when you win a game like that? Cool, you run the risk, I think, of complacency because you've had 2 weeks of everybody telling you how great you are.
Yeah,
maybe that's a reach.
That's a little bit of a reach because it's still Arkansas. They've played a lot of close games this year. They lost to Oklahoma State. What's the other loss? They had another game that just was kind of an ugly game for them.
The other game that Arkansas lost was the A&M game.
Okay.
Dallas.
Those are 2 losses. Then we've been talking about
could have won either one of those.
They could have won either one of the games. This is a team that has scared me for a couple of weeks. They're one of those teams that are still trying to prove themselves. So I think that's the one thing that they have. Look, you already got 2 losses, so you got a knock. They beat Tennessee. They want to go out there and prove to everybody, hey, we are pretty damn good. We played bad early on in the year, but this is not where, hey, everybody's patting you on the back telling you how good we are. They're still in improvement mode.
They were they probably should – they definitely should have won the Oklahoma State game. They could have won the A&M game. They outgained them by about 80, 90 yards. They probably should have lost the Auburn game.
Yeah.
Auburn kind of outplayed them, and then there was some turnovers because that's what Auburn has been doing. But they're improving More on that later. So, how good do you think Arkansas is? Their record is probably pretty close to what they should be, but maybe not. Like I said, they should have lost the Auburn game and won the Oklahoma State game.
I think Arkansas is good enough to beat just about anybody left on their schedule. I mean, they have enough playmakers. And look, it's not traditional. What we're talking about with Green is just one of those guys who's either going to cost him a game or win him a game. I mean, you don't really know what you're going to get from him, but he's got so much ability with his legs, and he puts it all together on the right night. They can beat anybody.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about what LSU did offensively in this game against Ole Miss. Nussmeier, one of those games where you go, you didn't play really well. That was his own words after the game, that this was my worst game. Yet he made the plays when he had to, and he ends up being SEC Player of the Week or whatever. For a week where he we saw a little bit of the old, gambling, throw that, with the back-to-back interceptions. They throw you one, you throw it right back to them. That was a bad decision. But, boy, the throw to Taylor to get the first down on fourth down, the throw to Anderson, which everybody's, marveled at, myself included. Yeah. And then, the final one to Lacey was a really nicely thrown ball.
Look, he does so many good things, and look, that was not his best game. Or did he complete 40-something% of his passes in the game?
Yeah, 43, I think.
But, man, he's got a lot of pressure on him because we're not getting the ball running. We're not running the ball. We're not getting movement. They're allowed to drop 8. They're playing soft coverages. I mean, you heard early on when, Brian Kelly used to talk about, well, they're not giving us run looks. They're not giving us run looks. Now you're getting every run look, and we weren't doing anything with them. So when they're doing that, they're playing coverage. They're taking away what Nussmeier is really good at, is intermediate routes, crossing routes, things over the middle. That's where our receivers' best skill set is stemming, pressing, getting open. When they drop 8 and they're dropping that many people, I mean, you have to wait, and then get rid of the ball. The only thing that he can improve on himself that is 100% on him is he's got to take off running every once in a while. I'm not talking about run somebody over, juke somebody else. Get 5, 7, 8. Get what is given and get down.
Do you think he just doesn't look?
I don't think he's ever been. He's never been programmed that way. He's been a thrower his whole life. He wants to extend plays, and look, his athleticism. He extends a lot of plays in the pocket and makes later throws in the game, but he doesn't use that as using my legs to extend the play with a first down.
And that's mostly what you want out of a quarterback. I don't want a guy that's looking to run at the first sign of trouble, but just a little bit. The fourth down play, which another one is on the podcast. We looked at this thing. It actually wasn't nearly as bad blocked.
Yeah.
Okay. As schemed, not blocked,
schemed.
Because they let me correct my grammar here. Schemed. 2 different guys missed the block on the play, and it was still open enough for him to get the first down. Now he wouldn't have busted it, but he could have got the 2 yards.
Yeah, I mean, and just the scheme of it is, if they get 80% of that blocked, he probably get 15, 20 yards. I mean, the seam's parting and the way that they were doing it, but when you're gonna. I don't want to see another zone read until he runs the ball, because right now they're not respecting it. You go watch the film when Charlie pauses it, the DN's already redirecting at the mesh point to go play wide because he knows.
While the ball is still in the belly.
Yeah,
the ball is still in the belly, but he hasn't given it up yet. And the end, you can see him. He takes like a jab step, and he's already gone to Jackson because he knows that Nussmeier's not going to keep it. Now, Nussmeier would have probably gotten the first down had he kept it, but I don't think he would have busted it because Frazier and Jones took they fouled that up pretty bad. Yeah. Frazier went inside of a 2 technique, and I don't know why. So the combo block never materializes.
Yeah, it was like they reversed the combo block. Instead of what it should have happened is they should have reached and Jones gone up, but they try to do it backwards. They get thrown. Like you said, though, I still think he probably gets close to a first down. But, I mean, if you're not going to ever show somebody pulling it, you're never going to get the respect from the DN to give it.
Can I give you a backwards analogy? You'll get this. This was your team. How many times did Ryan Perrilloux throw the ball off of that option action in 2007?
Not many. Never.
I remember one.
I know that he was supposed to throw a touchdown to me in the back of the end zone off of it, and then it got tipped.
The one against Virginia Tech is the one I remember,
Okay.
where it looked like Early Doucette had just stepped out of the student section. He was so open.
Yeah.
Because Virginia Tech, they'd run the play maybe 4 or 5 times, and Parallel's just, he's going to keep. He's going to keep. He went down the line, and he gets to the hash, almost to the hash. He stops, takes 2 steps back, and throws the prettiest ball you ever seen. And Doucette was so wide open. I mean, he was closer to Mike the Tiger than to the next the defender. And that's what I feel like with Nussmeier. If he ever keeps the ball, there ain't going to be anybody
good to go.
anywhere close.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that is frustrating. I've never heard him talk about it. Like, he had the one where he rushed for like 12 yards or whatever, and that's okay. But there was.
Well, we went back 2 games ago against South Alabama. They ran the quarterback keep down at the goal line.
What did he say? He's never kept the ball against a Power 5 team. The times he's
okay, right.
I didn't
think about it like that. Yeah.
He'll take his shots over there, but he's never done it against a Power 5 team.
But they showed it. He scored a touchdown in the game against South Alabama. They cleared everybody out. I went back and watched that damn USC game again. They cleared everybody out of the middle. I mean, he could have run from there to the doggone Wynn Hotel.
There were multiple plays against LSU. I mean, Ole Miss, they cleared everybody out. He could have ran for miles.
I don't know what you do about that other than just tell him, hey, go. I don't think he's scared.
No, I just don't think he thinks that way.
He finished that
think
run off,
His mindset is find the next receiver. He just doesn't process and get into takeoff.
And that's mostly what you want out of a quarterback, but just every now and then. I got a feeling we're going to be saying that the rest of the year too. And I'm with you. Let's just take the zone read out of the playbook for now. They just don't run it. They don't run it well. The rest of the run blocking, though, was somewhat concerning. And this is a very good defensive front for Ole Miss, and Nolan was a problem.
Nolan, Piguez.
Yeah. You tell me what you saw, because we were watching the film. I was like, oh, there's 2 again. There's 2 again. And Nolan.
I saw Frazier and Chester have a rough night. And like Frazier got a lot better last year. He's a better player, but he went against, Walter Nolan might be the best defensive tackle in the SEC, one of the best defensive tackles in the country. He's a different player. I think Piguez is a really good tackle. He's very fast. But they got beat a lot, and they got beat with speed and got beat with power. They weren't able to reach them, weren't able to move them, and they were getting pushed back.
You seeing technique problems from them?
Chester is my thing with Chester is he's so tall. I don't know how he fixes that. He's got to work on getting low, shooting hands fast. Guys get underneath him, and like when you're a defensive lineman, you're trying to put the top of your helmet in their chin. You're trying to get his head going back. If you get a head leaning, that's the easiest way to push somebody. Chester, with Frazier, and even Emery, they had some technique issues just with steps. Their feet were slow. They didn't gain ground on reach steps. They just kind of picked it up, put it down. They were behind a step on a lot of these things.
We're brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Boy, they've done a great job for us over the years. When your back goes out, you have some neck problems, you just have those, a knee, something that is not letting you get around. This happened to my wife just a few weeks ago, where all of a sudden you wake up one day and your back is killing you. Well, let them help you out. They can do for you what they've done for us, which is ease that level of pain. You get you into a program, target those problem areas, whether it's a series of just exercise and stretches. I've noticed that some of the things they do, you start to feel a little bit of a twinge, a little bit of a tweak somewhere, and you get in, you do some of these techniques that they teach you, and you can prevent a lot of things before they get worse. But you can also get in for a dry needle, electric nerve stimulation, cryo, ultrasound therapy. They'll get you to feeling better. Airline Highway, Plank Road, Jefferson Highway near Drusilla. Dr. Michael Goff, Louisiana Health and Injury Centers. We'll take a break, come back here at Ruffino's Log of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Ruffino's. The restaurant opens up here at 11 o'clock. Come on out and see us for lunch here at Ruffino's. Brian Kelly said this week that Trey'Dez Green will now be mostly a wide receiver. Okay, you were a tight end that played as a freshman. If they had come to you, and you've told a story about, having to cram a lot of information in when you got your first start in, the game at Auburn, which was very early in the season. If they had come to you halfway through your freshman season and said, okay, you're going to be exclusively split out wide now, what would you have had to learn at that point?
It's a similar, a basicer package. They're going to play him inside to where he's going to run go route, slants, corners, and post. You're going to teach him too high versus man coverage. You can simplify it to him to where, hey, if you're going to get too high, run it this way. If you get one guy high, run it this way. Don't worry about blocking anymore. We're not going to do all that. If we call a run play, block the guy in front of you. I mean, they can simplify things for him to where he can go back to doing what made him an elite recruit coming out, is being an electric wide receiver.
I love the idea of getting him more involved, because you can know what he's doing and he can still beat you. He's that kind of.
Well, I got in the touchdown. Yeah. He did not run a good route. He did not stem the guy. But when you're 6'7", and you're that long, and the guy trying to cover you, his head comes up to your armpits. There's nothing he could do.
I think back to one of my favorite Saban press conferences of all time was, somebody asked him about Skylar Green. Why is Skylar Green playing more? And he said, well, Jimbo tells me he doesn't know the playbook, so I told Jimbo, teach him one play. So this is kind of that, not one play, but one thing, because you can know what he's doing. When Skylar Green came in the game, you could know what he was doing. He might still beat you because he was that fast and he was that elusive. So with this guy, you can kind of know a general idea of what he's capable of and what he's not. And he can still beat you.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's just a freak athlete. I mean, he moves so well to be that long, to be that explosive. Exactly. He can just beat you with his God-given talents.
We're going to get to see that. They're also going to get C.J. Daniels back this week, so that's going to help. Still no Hilton, but everybody else is back. So you're at, man, I hate to say this out loud, but you're fairly healthy for Game 7.
Just talk about in the break.
Yeah, don't jinx anything. But okay, so look, you lost Guillory for the year.
Yeah.
Sucks. You lost Perkins for the year. Stinks.
Emory.
And you lost John Emory for the year. Okay. But you've been without those guys for several weeks now. You know what the team looks like without them. Everybody else, and you've never had Hilton this year, so you kind of know what
this is your
they.
team.
Yeah,
this is the guys you're in with. These are the guys you're playing with. This is the guys who you've built. You've gotten better with from each week. Look, they have enough talent to get something done in the run game. And look, Nuss has done a lot of things for this team, but the pressure is they're making things a lot harder on Nuss. I mean, the reason this game was so rough for him is because they played coverage, played soft. They dropped 8 at times because we're not getting any respect in the run game. But I'm seeing bits and pieces of it. When you go back and watch our film, they just got to get 7 guys to be on the same page. Right now it's 5 out of the 7, 6 out of the 7, and things are so close to busting.
I want to talk about Nussmeier's draft prospects for a second. We're not going to do this every week, and we really haven't done it at too much to this point other than kind of in passing, but we've been asked enough times. Let's address that here at the halfway point, and then we'll pick it up again at the end of this season. When you look at Nussmeier and whether he will come back or not, let's just do a midterm grade. What do you see? What do you think?
I see a guy with an elite arm talent, a gutsy guy that guys are going to fight for. I see just a team player, somebody that all the guys rally around, get hyped up about. A guy that can make every throw. I think the Ole Miss week is a perfect example. A guy that played his worst game but comes back in the final seconds and wins when he has to. He's a guy that just has it. He's a guy that I think is going to sneak into the first round.
I do too. Now this is before we see 6 more films against SEC competition, but I feel pretty confident in that. Here's the other thing that I know with this player, no other player has this advantage. His father's coaching in the NFL. Yeah. Okay, his father will be able to tell him
a quarterback coach in the NFL.
Yeah, this is not one where you got some agent talking in your ear, or you got some relative that doesn't know.
If he comes out, he's got good information.
Yeah, some uncle that doesn't know whether a football's blown up or stuffed. They can tell you something, get in your ear. He doesn't have that problem. He will get the absolute raw truth from who do you trust more than your father, okay? Yeah. So he doesn't I'm not going to say he doesn't need to, apply to the draft committee or whatever and say, where do you guys have me going? All he's got to do is say, Dad, go up to the general manager's office and see what he thinks, yes, okay? Or you tell me, you play against these guys every week. Am I ready?
Make a phone call, Dad.
Yeah, so I don't even want to speculate because my opinion doesn't matter. No. The rest of the general public, their opinion doesn't matter. He doesn't even have to call the advisory board. All he's got to do is call his dad and say, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
And then his dad will tell him what he thinks after he gets 6 more films out there, and they'll make a decision. Not for nothing. This is a crowded first round where quarterbacks are concerned. I don't know that there's a ton of difference. You get a lot of different opinions. Some people like Sanders better. Some people like Beck. Some people like Ewers. You get a wide variety of opinions on Jalen Milroe. And then Nussmeier, basically the difference between Nussmeier and Ewers is about 15 starts at the college level. So I think he could easily get in the first round. Also, not for nothing, but this entire offensive, 4/5 of this offensive line will probably not be here next year. I don't know how much that'll factor into his decision, but it would certainly be on my mind.
If we're talking, I'm flirting with the first round, and I can go out now or come back with 4 new offensive linemen, I'm probably going to lean towards going out with the rest of the guys.
Correct. I think like you that he could easily get into the first round. With another year, could he get to the top of the first round? Maybe.
Very possible.
It certainly.
But there's so much unknown about.
There's a risk. There's a risk.
He's been sacked twice through 6 games right now. He could come back next year and get sacked 6 times in the first game. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with the new offensive line.
They have kept him remarkably clean. He's the most well-protected quarterback in the state, including the professional football program that is down the street. All right, Arkansas defensively, these are some pretty good numbers. They held a good Texas A&M team in check. I don't know what to think of Tennessee offensively.
Yeah.
But I thought a lot more before they played the last 2 games, and now you're like, wait a minute, that NC State game, that looks like the outlier, and maybe NC State's not very good. We were giving them a lot of credit for that game.
Yeah, I know Landon Jackson. I know Landon Jackson is a gamer. I think he kind of started off a little bit slow this year, but he's starting to pick up steam.
Speaking of people that might sneak into the first round.
Yeah, another guy that could sneak in there. They play really well on first and second down, similar to what we did. But it's going to come down to the run game again to me. I mean, they got to get some run game going to make things easier for Nuss. He can't go out there and have to be 100% on every single passing play.
I'll call this trip to Fayetteville their biennial trip to the dentist. The last 3 games have been decided by a total of 13 points. Okay, why is this so hard?
It's always been this way. I mean, look, I got an excuse. At least when it happened to us, they had Darren McFadden, Peyton Hillis. What was the other guy?
Felix Jones.
I mean, they had 2 first-rounders and a guy that Peyton didn't go in the first round, but 2 first-round running backs that they ran the wishbone on us. And when they beat us, Darren McFadden threw for 2 touchdowns. So that was an excuse number 1.
Okay.
But every year it's just one of those games that I think it's almost a bad thing when people talk about the rivalry and all the LSU fans like, this is not a rivalry. We don't care about them. It's Alabama, Florida. Well, they care about us. So if we
did you feel that way when you were playing?
No, I mean,
this isn't a rivalry. Like, we're way better than these guys.
No, because my freshman year we get beat. I mean, and that kind of set the standard for me. Then in the national championship, we get beat. I mean, so we won my freshman year, get beat in my sophomore year. I went 2-2 against Arkansas. I mean, they were a team that they were very talented at the time. I mean, I hated them because Houston Nutt, and then Houston Nutt goes to Ole Miss, which I know I hate Ole Miss. But Houston Nutt, when I committed to LSU, got asked by a reporter because I liked Arkansas. I had family there, got an uncle that went there. But he said when I committed to LSU that we didn't want Dixon anyway. He wasn't big enough to play in the SEC. So and then he goes to Ole Miss, so I get all that other stuff about it. But
right.
They're just a team that I think they care about this game more, and it always puts them in it.
Your uncle played at Arkansas?
No, he lives in Arkansas.
He lived in Arkansas. I was about to ask you, do you have any relatives that didn't play college football?
No. My uncle played Arkansas State, I think it was, but he quit.
Okay.
He played college football.
Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Arkansas State, LSU. I mean,
we got him covered.
It's pretty.
I think my grandfather on my dad's side played at Perk, played junior college on my mom's side.
Okay, so
it's
when you guys gather for Thanksgiving dinner, everybody's got a story, right?
The ones that are alive.
We are here at Ruffino's. We're brought to you by Home Bank, Louisiana-based since 1908. Personal and business banking solutions for nearly any need. Right now, terrific CD rates that you can take advantage of with low minimum balances. Great opportunity to stack up returns on your money. The local bankers here in Baton Rouge are at Corporate Boulevard, Sherwood Forest, Longform Village, and Blue Bonnet. Also, Home Bank locations in Acadiana, New Orleans, the North Shore, Natchez, and Houston. Visit home24bank.com for more information. Home Bank, member FDIC. We'll take a break, come back here at Ruffino's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris, Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we are also brought to you in part by Total Maintenance, AC and heating, generators, electricity, plumbing. Total Maintenance, your one-stop service shop for all of these needs. One of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies. They've been around since 1980. Service today, every day, so you don't have to go to sleep hot or cold. Weather's turning a little bit. Total Maintenance has expanded into the New Orleans area, so full staff in both Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Authorized dealer for Carrier, American Standard, Daikin, and Rheem AC units. Generac and Cummings generators now for all your electrical and plumbing needs in Baton Rouge. 480-1000 in New Orleans, 841-3300. Service today, every day at Total Maintenance. I'm going to go back to a play that we also reviewed on the podcast, the Handycast on YouTube. The fourth down stop down by the goal line.
Yeah.
And Braden Swinson gets all the credit for making his stop because he comes off the edge. Turns out he didn't even hear the play call, and he makes a great play and a great stop. But there were two other players that really made this happen besides Swinson, and we don't talk a lot about Gio Paez, but maybe we should start because he's been rock solid in there, and he and Whit Weeks blow up the middle of this play, something terrible.
Yeah, between Gio, Whit Weeks, and even with Savion closes it off on the backside, I mean, they shut that play down immediately. Gio submarines the center. He can't go anywhere. He can't get any push. The guard tries to come up and kick. Whit Weeks smacks him in the mouth, stops the play right there. There's nowhere for that back to go. And then Savion on the end, he stops his guy. So there's nowhere where he can go. And the only thing is you got Braden Swinson coming off the backside with a wide receiver trying to cut him off.
Whit Weeks blew the guard up, who outweighs him by, I'm just guessing, about 80 pounds.
Easy.
Something like that. Now, Paez, he submarines. This is a guy, he's 6'3".
Yeah, he's a stocky guy.
But he plays low.
It's almost like he tried to crab walk underneath it. I mean, he just crawled, army crawled up under there. And he did it explosively. It's something that's taught to do, but the way he did it, I mean, he shut the center down. I mean, it was just a well-executed play.
Well, we were talking about Chester being able to get lower because he's so tall. Paez is every bit of 6'3".
Yeah.
Now he's not 6'6" like the way Chester is, but he got down. Oh, he's ground level. I mean, there was no way you were going to move him.
I wanted Chester play center in high school. I wonder if it's just something him learning, being comfortable, snapping the ball, and getting back down low. I'm just guessing.
I think he did, but I don't have any good numbers on that. All right, we got a couple minutes left. Let me ask you what your thoughts are about Texas and Georgia, the big game in the SEC this week.
Man, Texas to me has been the most complete team, been the best team in the country every time I've gotten a chance to watch them. But Georgia shows up for big games usually. I know they didn't really against Alabama. They came back in the end.
Look ahead spot last week against Mississippi State.
Yeah, I'm thinking a little bit look ahead. Georgia knows this is the first time Georgia's looking at two losses in the regular season in a long time. This is a game that's got their full attention. This is a game that Kirby Smart's going to have them boys fired up to play in. And I think Texas wants to go out there and prove that they're the best team in the country. So this is a game I'm excited to see.
there's so many different facets to it.
What time's kickoff? Please don't tell me it's another exact same time as our game.
No, it's not the exact same time. It's 30 minutes later. Sorry.
All the good games lately that I want. The only other games I've wanted to watch.
Come on up to the studio. We'll order out for some food and we'll watch. We got both TVs side by side. Then the other game that's got everybody's attention is Alabama and Tennessee. Both of them maybe crisis of confidence potentially.
Alabama loses to Vanderbilt. Could have lost last week. Played pretty sloppy. Tennessee is on this. They lost to Auburn, kind of second-guessing who they are as an offense. There's a lot of questions in this game, but it's a very important game because both of them, know what's on the line. They want to reestablish things and get things going in the right direction.
Is Alabama poorly coached on defense?
I don't know if it's poorly coached. I think that they have a different mindset. And when you talk about, I don't know Kalen DeBoer. I know he's a good coach, but I've watched Nick Saban cuss people out up 50 and wearing them up, never letting them feel good about themselves, never really getting past a victory. I watched Kalen DeBoer and them celebrate that Georgia win that was really kind of embarrassing to let them back in it. So I think there's a different mindset of getting those guys all staying hungry, staying focused, attention to the detail, because Nick Saban's the best at doing it.
They are, in the Southeastern Conference, 13th in total defense. Their number's just a little bit better than LSU's, and LSU is, we know, in a transitional.
We're getting better.
Yeah. It's all in where you start and what your expectations are, okay? Alabama's 13th, LSU is 14th. We feel good about the direction that the defense is going. Yeah. This is a new step and all that. At Alabama, you got to feel, I don't know, a little bit uneasy about
the last time they were ranked that low in the conference in defense.
Saban's first year, maybe.
Probably not even that.
They were 7-16 that year, I think.
Lost to UL, but that was a team that, like we said, got better as the season went on.
Yeah, or maybe one of the Shula teams before that. I don't. Not recently.
No.
and not often for sure. No, they're doing some things game management wise that really make you scratch your head. The end of the first half, they're up 14-0. I've been harping on calling a timeout with 11 seconds to go. But the doggone sequence before that, where they give up a 4th and 9, bomb for a touchdown, and then somehow manage to get sacked for a safety, intentional grounding in the end zone from the 14-yard line. I went back and watched the whole 2-minute thing. It's like, wow, that was a disaster before you even got to the last pick.
The pressure to make every decision right coming from replacing the greatest coach to ever do it, it's got to be tough.
Starting to feel it a little bit. All right, we'll see you tomorrow for pre- and post-game. Eagle 98.1 Game Day starts at 1 o'clock from Rouse's. Back with hour number 2, Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Lock of the Week Friday. Hey, Jim.
Oh, Charlie, say it like you mean it, Charlie.
Lock of the Week, Lock of the Week.
Come on, you're hot, Charlie.
Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments. Tex is gonna be real happy with me when I make my picks today. I got.
Max, look up the 2021 Miami Saints box score. I'm interested.
2021. That was
the one I told you yesterday.
The in-book game.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
couldn't have been any uglier.
Now I brought it up. It felt like it. I didn't think it was going to be exactly like that. Where they had no chance.
No chance.
No chance. You remember what you said after that game? I do. You don't remember what the hell you said. You just babble. You take
I
up
do.
all the
I
time,
do. I do.
They Ian Book's not an NFL starting quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback.
And look how right I was.
Oh no argument. Rattler.
Probably.
How's it different?
Probably not. Rattler's a little bit.
I think Rattler's got a better arm. I know he's got a better arm.
He's got a better arm and he moves better than Book did. But
he does?
A little bit.
He does.
Yeah.
He does?
A little bit. I mean.
I said he ran the 4.95 at the combine. He also ran a 5.1 in that same combine. You know, he gets the best number there.
Would you call him last week mobile but not athletic?
Oh, he is not athletic. Did you see? I mean, Charlie, he lost 2 fumbles, 2 bad fumbles.
I watched the game. It was every bit as
right. Well,
no. It was uglier than I had feared.
He wants to throw the ball on the move, but teams are going to know that. They want to keep him in the pocket. He's got to make some plays from the pocket.
Yeah,
now
listen,
listen,
widened out.
But guess what? Just like Ian Book is not an NFL quarterback, and Rattler, I don't think he's an NFL starting quarterback. He could be. I have not changed my mind as far as he could be a Chase Daniel.
Sure.
A quality, a long time backup quarterback. He can be that. And nothing, because he played with not one arm tied behind his back with the sporting cast. You just got no chance.
Blindfolded in a straitjacket.
Yes, you got no offensive line, you got no skill guys, and then when he did make the throws, how many drops did we have last night?
3 or 4 that I can remember, probably more.
So
than
you
that.
know what I went to Max? What you got? What was that score?
So last time around, 20-3. That was back in 2020.
Well, yeah, that's what the score was supposed to be. But guess what? One thing that I was wrong. I'm sorry.
There were more yards in the game last night, though. The Saints only had 164 total yards. The Dolphins didn't have much either. But last night, the Saints, a lot of it garbage time, but had 271 total yards.
Man, throw that crap away. Because the
last touchdown drive was 79 yards, so you can throw that out.
Yeah, so you want to give them 190. You don't get too. Look, we saw the game.
The game wasn't as boring as the Dolphins game, just in retrospect.
Oh, it wasn't?
Just from offense. There was a little bit more offense
really?
than in this
They said it never seen the dome emptied out. Alvin Kamara.
That's true.
He was on that team.
I'll go you one better.
That was a Monday night game. This was a Thursday night game. It's a work night.
If they didn't do the Drew Brees thing at halftime last night, you wouldn't have had many people there to start. You would have had the lightest crowd there in a long time at the start if they wouldn't have been honoring Drew. Watch the next time. The next home game is what?
Look, forget that box.
They go on the road for 2 weeks.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing where I was completely wrong on. Okay, I thought the Saints had a little pride. I thought that they, after being embarrassed against Tampa Bay, who they, especially the defense, has owned their offense. Even Brady has owned their offenses. They would come back with a little pride. This is a bounce-back league week to week. Charlie, how many missed tackles? How many just and tackling is, yes, tackling's a loss, but tackling's desire and toughness and will. And they could give 2 craps less. And then Caley hits Sean Payton going into halftime, gets Dennis Allen coming out. Man, we're tackling better. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh man. And when you and they talk about fire Dennis Allen or not, and this and that. Your salary cap jail. You'd like to sell some guys off, but you take such a salary cap, you're stuck. You're stuck for a while.
You're stuck. I want them to keep Dennis
Allen.
Allen
You know that area better than me for sure.
Well, I'm about to give you about the most sobering stat that you could have. I want them to keep Dennis Allen for the rest of the year because I think they're way better off losing games the rest of this year.
Mike Blackwood, absolutely.
So that this point has to be beaten into the head of ownership that this is not going to work. This coach is not going to work. This general manager is not going to work. They are right now $81 million over the cap next year. Okay, the next highest team is $4 million over the cap. There's 3 teams over the cap for next year's cap.
They're drilled.
They're $81 million. They've added so many voidable years to so many contracts that this is not even a. You say, well, just cut them all and be done with it in 1 year. That's not possible. This is a 2-year fix to get them back within shouting distance of the rest of the league.
Got to pay that interest at some point.
Yes, that's exactly what they have done. And voidable years or interest. That's an excellent analogy, Jimmy. That it's going to take somebody 2 years to get this right. And I don't know what you can do in the meantime other than try to stockpile some talent. At least they have realized it, okay? They haven't made a trade to give away draft choices since the Penning trade. And with the exception of Chase Young, they really didn't sign anybody this offseason, so they haven't added to it. It's just the guys that they've got in the building that you can't get out. Who's the biggest salary cap liability in the league? It's Deshaun Watson by a lot. If the Browns cut Deshaun Watson and took the biggest dead money hit in NFL history and split it up over 2 years, they would still only be $15 million in worse shape than the Saints.
As I mean, we know this time's coming, but yeah, lose the rest. Here's the plan, though. Okay, so they're making this job more attractive for somebody else, because if they keep letting Dennis Allen he's lost a team now too. And these are guys
they quit on him last night.
They
look like
you see the tackling.
Yeah, it looked like they quit on him. Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, Bo Nix can't complete a pass. I started thinking he missed 2 wide open guys on one play, huh?
He did. He put it right in between them. He put it right in between them.
And here we are, this era of football. Let's parade him out to the post game panel. Like he was so freaking. He was terrible. He was terrible.
He ran the ball well.
He can.
He
okay, well, why are you gonna run him in this game?
Because Sean Payton wanted to win this game.
He did. He was emotional. Yeah, and
that's not sustainable. But this game was special to him. You could tell. And I don't want to read into body language. You were a psychology major, but when you look at Sean Payton, you see a leader. When you look at Dennis Allen,
for them to go 8-9 last year with that garbage was really good, and that's why I like their win total over this year at 5.5. Wait, they're better than they were last year, and he's got his guy. And listen, he's spoon feeding Nix. Yeah. He is. How many times does he ask him to throw the ball vertically? Now they don't have a whole lot of weapons on the outside either.
No.
Okay, but he is. But what do we think? What do we know for Sean Payton with the Saints? What was his coaching style? What was he best at? He was best at play calling, decide play, and just this wide open offense. But the defense was going to be compromised a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
The 2009 defense was predicated on turnovers. They were aggressive, but they gave up a lot of yards.
Greg Williams, it was a great fit, for a year. He's a psycho, but I mean, he sure did. Hey, let's take chances. It worked. It's not a light switch. Let's bring in the safety from Buffalo. Well, he had a bunch of interceptions last year. They're just going to train. No, turnovers don't work like that. You got to get pressure. You got to get leads. The whole thing. But he has. This is a completely different coaching approach to what he was doing with the Saints, because he doesn't have a Breeze, obviously. And so he's going to keep, but he's got defense. He's going to try and just manage the game to give them a chance. He's not going to beat himself.
Yeah.
And so he's not going to let Russell Wilson beat him last year. That 8-9 was tough last year. They're going to probably have a winning record this year. Not an 8, not much, but that's a hell of a deal for a team that was projected at 5.5.
And they had to take that big ass salary cap hit with Wilson, so they've been compromised in team building.
But let's not be so, in as far as the robot. There ain't no doubt the robot had them going for it on 4th and 1. Well, in a Cincinnati game right now, where they're all offense, they can't stop anybody, or Washington right now, well, yeah, you got to go for it. No, let's kick the field goal, make it 6-0. Period. These jokers over here, they don't have an offensive line. They got the backup quarterback. They got no guy on the outside. We're gonna manage the game. It's kind of don't beat yourself first. And so he's good. He's good, but you don't get any credit for beating that roster last night. None. That Miami game, Charlie. That roster they put out, they had no chance. Last night they had no chance, the Saints, and it's not on Allen, it's not on Rattler, but what is on Allen is effort.
Yeah.
And that defense is just not. And then it sews up the whole night when there's going to be a throw that Bo Nix makes, a horrendous throw right to a DB. You get to pick your Saints DB that you want to be in position to make the catch. You pick Honey Badger, of course, and even he dropped. So it's just, even And we love Drew Brees. The family looks great. Man, the wife's aging well. The kids are growing up. They look great. But damn it, what the hell was he trying to prove with that algorithm of that cheer? Even that sucked last night. I mean, the only thing that didn't suck last night was Hold the Mayo's postgame.
I didn't hear it. But
well,
I'm sure.
the one thing, the best thing about Mayo's post game, okay, is it is clean, it's family friendly. There is no, I mean,
okay, that's a lie.
I mean, there were more F bombs going. I mean, you got to drop your. Oh my God, it was as vulgar as anything, but therapeutic.
The only
Even
thing,
Surratt, me and Surratt, like you listen to Mayo. I mean, it's just. Oh man.
I'll tell you one good thing about the game last night. We both had Denver minus 2.5. That was that was a rocking chair. We didn't want to pick it that way. But
Had some on the under. That was a horrendous beat. And Charlie, I don't think it's just one. Rattler may have some issues with ball security. You know, might have small hands, whatever. But he's. I mean, you just can't. You can't do that, man.
I think he had a good read. Rattler is limited, but any quarterback would have been in a bind last night with what he had to work with.
His ball that he throws a nice ball.
Yeah,
Derek Carr throws a beautiful ball. But, I mean, and then the big picture, when we're sitting there in Beau Rivage, and I'm like, man, we could have won. You know, we had the lead against Philadelphia. I'm like, this sucks. This sucks because this is going to be bad. We could have won today. Yes, we could have. You know, Sirianni tried to keep us in. Well, he did keep the Saints in the game. But can I ask you, Charlie? Max, you bet. Max, how's my Saints Super Bowl championship ticket looking? Max, how's the Dennis Allen Coach of the Year tickets looking? And how is the what was the other one we
I
had?
had Derek Carr to win MVP.
Derek Carr MVP. How's you can get some value now. It's a buy low spot, Charlie. Your value. You get some value.
We actually had that discussion on this show.
No,
What was a better bet? The Saints to win the Super Bowl or Carr to win the MVP? We actually did that on this show.
Max took Carr MVP. I took Saints to win the Super Bowl. What did you take?
I took my money and put it back in my pocket.
Good for you. Let's go manure for the Shador this season.
I don't even. I don't even have a guy on me.
God
God
bless whoever takes Shador and his daddy ball. I mean, come on, are you really kidding yourself?
I don't mind taking Shador. I don't want to take Dion.
Well,
their package deal. I know.
Okay, doesn't he deserve to be in Dallas?
Yeah.
They're just perfect for each other.
When I talk about the Saints getting the first high pick, I don't have anybody in mind, though. It's not like it's not like there's John Elway up there. Like, we got to get this guy. Just the higher pick.
You think Caleb Williams is going to be good? I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I do.
I think we know Daniels is good, huh?
Yes.
We got a pretty good feel. Huh? He's really good.
Yeah.
I think McCarthy's going to be good. Don't know. Didn't take one snap in the regular season. I think he's going to be good. Right. I like what I saw in the preseason.
Drake May looked terrific last week. I mean, really did. He made some nice throws. He made some nice throws.
The highlights. Did you see the other ones?
I mean, it wasn't perfect, but
you watched the highlights. Huh?
I did.
Yeah, the throw to Kayshawn was beautiful, no doubt. I mean, Kraft's going nuts. He had some bad ones in there too, Charles. Some real bad ones.
What's his first start?
I know, but it's like, and I get caught up with this. When I used to do the high school recruiting tapes, I didn't see the whole. I'm pointing them because some of the most exciting plays were some of these athletes running.
Yeah.
But can you throw the ball? So I don't know. But the Saints, the disappointing thing, and this is where Allen needs to go, is when your team just doesn't show effort in a spot where that's the last crowd that's coming, huh? Mm-hmm. Huh? I mean, they got coming back. They went to go see Drew. I mean, people pay for the tickets. There are going to be some people in the stands, but I mean, it's back. You're close to okay. We're going to have the take your program, make paper airplanes in the terrace, and see who can hit the hit the helmet on at midfield.
Their next two games are on the road. The next home game is against the Falcons, which is traditionally a very well attended game.
Can I do like I did at Tulane Stadium too? Get one of those. You always hear the dude at Oakland A's games. The plastic like horn. One of those. Yeah. You're gonna sell those again? I mean, we got to do something, huh? Oh no, the fancy bars. They got fancy bars now in the Superdome, huh? We got to do something to get people in there.
You can see the field from there. What do you think?
You know who's not even going to games? The previously mentioned Mayo.
Oh, he did.
They never go to games.
Jimmy, the Pelican season starts next week.
Yeah.
Great.
NBA Max. NBA starts on Christmas.
Who cares about the Saints right now, Jimmy?
Yeah, well, we
Lowest crowd for a Falcons game in maybe ever in 2 weeks.
I'm watching all kinds of TV shows and movies and shows in the the theater of it all, huh, Charlie? Kind of you bring back the proud. I don't know,
history of the Saints.
emperors, your leaders, your proud leaders, and your proud soldier, and it's kind of like the closure of it. And you move on. You got to move on.
Well, tell it to the general manager.
Lamb lollipops over here. Oh, he's got to go. Appetizer features, but he's in the wheel. Sweet potato mash, basil pesto with the crushed pistachio. How about the roasted tomato soup? Fire roasted tomato soup, brie and provolone grilled cheese triangle. I always like the tomato soup and grilled cheese. Entree features the Nola redfish, pan-seared redfish, fresh Gulf shrimp, New Orleans barbecue sauce, grilled asparagus in a bag to put over your head. Ossobuco, braised pork shank, mushroom demi with a creamy polenta in our dessert feature today. I'm a little bit struggling on this today. I love a little tiramisu, coffee flavored, ladyfinger soaked in espresso and Myers rum, layered with mascarpone custard and chopped bittersweet chocolate, topped with whipped cream and garnished with cocoa powder. Bam! Lock of the week!
From Rufino's.
Brought to you by Tex Morris, Edward Jones Investments.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Charlie, what's my favorite place in the world to go to every summer, huh?
Del Mar.
My boy that I go see out there in the party spot in PB, my buddy Chris Maceros. So you know what I told him? I said, hey, look, Chris, I know they runs, but this Ole Miss team is going to playoffs. Okay, it's set up for them. They're coming into Baton Rouge 6-0. All right, and then they'll probably be better than LSU. We'll see. I'm not sure what LSU. LSU will be a little bit better on defense, not quite as explosive on offense, and well. 2 fourth downs later, they're instead of undefeated, they're on the ropes.
Chris, did you cost your friend any money?
Chris, did I cost you any money, Chris?
Well, we have some future tickets that are on life support. Let's just say that.
I mean, and look, I begged him to come to this game. I said, Chris, it's gonna be Max. Tell Chris what kind of atmosphere Tiger was Saturday night.
Oh, it was electric from the very beginning. First quarter, I looked around. I was like, "Wow, it is loud in here." It
was popping. But Chris said, "I cannot sit in a game with the futures I got on Ole Miss to go to the playoffs and sit there and you probably wouldn't have enjoyed yourself." So you made a wise decision there, Chris. But anyway,
I'll tell you one thing. They gave him Lane Kiffin he just gave him the game. The fumble at the end of the first half. The decision to go for it on 4th and 1 early in the game, just take the points, Lane, and then just the drop passes, the obvious touchdown in the first quarter dropped in the end zone, very questionable play calling, and just Ole Miss being Ole Miss. You were right. I guess they are the runs.
Hey, they're the runts, baby. They are the runts. So, Charlie, if you were an Ole Miss fan, okay, and now you asked for some money. We never give any money, but now you gave some money to the collective, and they got it, and they got some defensive line, got a really good defensive line, maybe arguably the best in the league, huh?
Interior for sure. Yeah.
Okay, and I mean. Did he Did he cost him the game management?
I can't blame the drop pass on him. I can't blame the fumble on him. The 4th and 1 is a questionable call, but I don't know. They should have had 17 points at the end of the first quarter, and they didn't. How much of that's on Lane, and how much of that's on he called a play that the kid drops the ball. I mean, Harris was best receiver in the country statistically coming in, so I can blame some of it on him. I don't know if I can blame all of it on him.
But give the Tigers
26 seconds left, up by 7. You're on your own 26-yard line. Just go to halftime. There's no need to run a play.
Yeah.
To allow LSU to get 2 field goals within 39 seconds is absurd. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I still can't believe they lost the game. And I mean, like we were talking earlier, Ole Miss is 2 fourth-down miracles away from being undefeated. But that's why they play the game, and give LSU all the credit in the world for never giving up, fighting the whole way. And they got the job done. I mean, it was a hell of an exciting game. And even though I was on the losing end, I watched every second. It was a great game.
And look, the crowd. This is what it is. What's what a crowd's supposed to do is impact the game, and they did. I mean, pre-snap penalties from, and I saw it maybe because I saw a Kiffin who's pretty damn cool in any situation. He's really good. How many coaches in a 4th and short sit there, deliberate, call a timeout, late get in the play? He never hesitates. But I saw him flat out nervous. I saw him unnerved in that game. So the crowd was a factor, man. There is no doubt about it. All right, Chris, let's get going with your picks, and let's start off with USC losing a 2-touchdown lead to Penn State. They couldn't hold on, and now they go coast to coast to take on Maryland.
Okay, this might be a square play, and I don't care. Maryland has played 3 Big Ten games. They've lost all 3. They got dismantled by Northwestern. They can't take care of the ball. The coach seems like he's completely out of it. I think this team's ready to quit. USC has played a gauntlet. Should have beat Penn State last week. They somehow blew that game. But Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, LSU. This isn't an early start either. It's a 4 p.m. Eastern start, so USC has a little time to acclimate. Maryland gave up 510 yards to Indiana, 493 yards to Michigan State. USC should be able to really put up a decent score here, and I think their defense is playing pretty good. I'm going to lay the 7. It looks a little fishy, but I just think the athletes on USC are just going to be able to name the score against Maryland.
All right, -7. We're going to use the Queen lines here, at our local shop at the Baton Rouge or DraftKings spot, -7. All right, LSU, emotion. Tough spot here. Arkansas had a very emotional win as well, but that was 2 weeks ago. They had a little bit a bye week to kind of sit back and watch the Tigers game very closely. This line's at 2.5 now. LSU on the road in a tricky spot after the big emotional win against Ole Miss last week.
Yeah, horrible spot for LSU, as we just mentioned. Ole Miss blew so many chances to win that game. LSU, they got the field storming and a huge win and the crowd and everything. Now they're going on the road, and if Taylor Green is healthy for Arkansas, which they say he is, I know he has a bone bruise, but hopefully the pain is not too bad for him. I think Arkansas should be able to put up points in this LSU defense. Arkansas also coming off a bye off the big win against Tennessee. Defense has been a lot better than many expected, only giving up 5.4 yards per play. They played A&M tough. They beat Tennessee, and I just think it's just a really tough spot for LSU going on the road. Who have they? They beat Ole Miss at Miracle. They beat South Carolina at Miracle. That leaves Nicholls State, UCLA, and South Alabama as that win. So I think it's a tough spot. I'm taking a 2.5 with Arkansas.
All right, let's go to the Big Ten and Michigan State here, trying to get off of the mat. They started out 3-0. They've lost their last 3. But, Jonathan Smith, year 1, I mean, he's got some work to do, and he will improve their roster. But this year, they had a week off to try and get back on track. Iowa smashed Washington last week. Early game for the Huskies, 9 a.m., their local time. They kicked off in Iowa City last week. DraftKings right now has Iowa -5.5 on the road in East Lansing.
Yeah, I'm taking Sparty here off a bye week. They have 3 losses, like you mentioned. They lost to BC, but they had 4 turnovers, 3 picks. Lost to Ohio State, another 3 turnover game, 2 fumbles in the red zone. And then they went up to Oregon, a very tough spot where they actually got the cover on that late field goal. But Jonathan Smith this week was talking about cleaning up the turnovers and potentially working on more of a running game, which will open up the pass. And if you watch the game last week, Iowa versus Washington, even though they did win big, it was very clear that guys are wide open all day long for Washington. So I think Iowa is susceptible to the pass. And if Aiden Childs, quarterback for Michigan State, can just take care of the ball, he's got potential to light up a secondary of Iowa that's not that strong. They're great against the run, not good against the pass. And Childs had some potential. He put up 241 against the pass versus BC and 363 earlier against Maryland. So I'm taking Michigan State +6.
All right, let's move on. And now, the fun part about this season, and we thought that with the all of the fancy, facilities and living arrangements, nutrition centers that the big programs have that the small doesn't. Now you throw in the money as well. Well, the haves have only separated further from the have-nots, but not on the playing field. And part of the underdog stories have been, of course, the military schools in Vegas. And then a running back from a small school that's the Heisman leader right now, where they tie in together. That's right. UNLV goes to Oregon State this week in Corvallis. Oregon State, the Beavers trying to get off the mat after they lose in Reno soundly, by the way. They were competitive, but that was much easier for Nevada than I thought it would be. And UNLV hosts Boise next week. They've been talking about UNLV Boise the whole season. So UNLV, a little look-ahead spot. It's DraftKings right now at 6.5.
Yeah, the look ahead. I played this game earlier at 8. Oregon State, definitely look ahead for UNLV. But the main reason I'm playing this game is the same reason I played Utah State last week. Is UNLV's defense is atrocious. They can't stop anyone. 584 yards last week versus Utah State. 492 versus Syracuse the week before, and they're going up to a tough environment where you got to hope that this Giovanni McCoy, who had 4 interceptions against Nevada, plays a little better. He's been able to light it up a little bit. So, and I think if the Petrus kid on Utah State didn't throw those 3 interceptions, I mean, he was throwing the balls right into the UNLV defenders, they might have won that game. I mean, UNLV didn't stop anyone. There was just no resistance at all. They talk about Utah State as a bad defense. UNLV's defense is atrocious. So, yeah, I don't think you can be laying 7 points on the road with that type of D. So we'll go with the Beavers plus 6.5, 7, whatever you got there for a number.
All right, and a big one tomorrow night in Austin. Well, Texas, here's your fruit basket for coming into the league. We're going to give you with the easiest schedule in the whole damn league. Who has Texas played? Charlie, I don't think that anybody that they played to this point is going to finish in the top 25. So, untested, but they've looked good, and they're complete. They're good up front. They're good at the skill positions. They got a good quarterback, good and experienced quarterback. They've got a team that went to the looked to be a little bit even better, the team that went to the playoff last year. Georgia, though, respect. Well, it's often overplayed. We get tired of. We get the no respect fatigue when teams win, but this one applies. And when's the last time that Kirby Smart's been able to play the no respect card to the top program in the country last few years? And they're dogs here against Texas. It's at 5, Chris. Georgia, not the running game or defensive they normally are, but they can throw the ball better than they usually do. And Texas, who knows? They haven't played anybody to this point, and Georgia is more desperate at this point. They can least afford a loss to get into the playoff, much less than Texas can.
Yeah, we talked about Texas's schedule last week, and we played Oklahoma, and obviously that wasn't the right side. They just couldn't muster up any offense with that backup quarterback. But if you look at Texas's schedule, Colorado State, Michigan, UTSA, Monroe, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, those are teams that are ranked 78th, 95th, 117th, 114th, 95th in offensive output. And actually, Oklahoma 128th yards per play. So just an atrocious offensive opponents they faced all year. Georgia's averaging 6.5 points per play, 33.5 points a game. The rest of Texas opponents' highest guy was Mississippi State, averaging 28 points a game. So this is the first real offense they're going to face. And look at the schedule Georgia's already played: Clemson, Kentucky, Bama, Auburn. I mean, they're kind of battle-tested. And if you take out the first quarter of that Alabama game, where Alabama shocked the world, 21 points, and the second half of last week versus Mississippi State, where they took the foot off the gas, this defense isn't as bad as you think. It's only giving up 17.2 points a game, and if you take out that quarter in the first quarter, Alabama, in the second half last week, you're under 10 points a game. So I think the defense is a little bit better than people are giving it credit for. And the offense, as you mentioned, the firepower on the passing game is definitely there. I cannot believe Texas is laying 5 points. This schedule this year, and if you look back to the schedule last year, they lost to Washington, they lost to Oklahoma, they barely beat TCU, they barely beat K-State. This is my biggest bet of the year, but it went to 5. I played it at 4, it went to 5, and I bet more on it. I think they're going to win the game outright. I feel like if Texas wasn't already in the SEC, this game would not be anywhere close to this point spread. It's just, I'm in complete shock on this game. First time they've been dogs in 46 games, dating back to 2021 versus Clemson. I don't see how Georgia does not cover this number. If I'm wrong, I will come back online. I'll come back next week and admit I'm wrong. But this is my my best bet of the week, and Bulldogs plus the 5 all day long.
You know, with this Texas schedule, at the end of the year, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Florida, their combined record, probably the worst combined record for those three schools in the modern era, right?
Yes.
Big brands, but bad teams.
Great traditional powers. Their teams are not good this year.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
and look at the
no
rest
doubt.
look at the rest of the schedule. You know, even if they lose this game, it's not even a big deal because they just don't got much to work with. I mean, there's no tough games the rest of the way. You were right, Jimmy. You mentioned it in the summertime, and I didn't believe you as much. But as it's played out, Texas has had one easy cakewalk schedule.
And I know it was a minus price, minus like 240, 260. But I mean, how could you keep it? And they got depth. I mean, you know, if the quarterback goes down, I mean, say what you want about the Mannings, but I mean, that's about as good of a backup quarterback as you can have, you know, in college football in his second year there. All right, Chris, one more on the way out. We got to run, but. You sending Lane Kiffin a box of chocolates, huh? I mean,
a box of Kleenex.
Do you blame him at all?
Well, you know, we just me and Lane just don't get along. We have a thing we call Lane Kiffin. It's a Lane Stiffen. You know, because he's year after year.
Good luck this weekend, Chris. Talk to you next.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, don't forget at Lofton Staffing Service, we're in the business of matching hard workers with some of the most sought-after employers in the Baton Rouge area. To Lofton, you're more than just another employee. We care about your interests, and we can help you match you with a company that needs your skills. You can complete an application. You can schedule an interview. You can even browse jobs right from the comfort of your own couch by simply going to lofton.jobs. That's lofton.jobs. We also offer an unlimited $100 referral bonus. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today at 924-0200 or go to lofton.jobs.
Live at Rufino's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Here at Rufino's Live at Lunch.
Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris, Edward Jones Investments. Last week they had their tailgate. It was a big success. Great weather in October, so it was a good time. So thank Tex and Mary and a great staff over at Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments for having a little festivities.
Getting a little creative because no LSU Auburn game for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, and they were originally scheduled for when the storm came through, so they had to deter that, but they got great weather last week as well, so good stuff there. All right, Paul Stone. Hey, Paul and I, first we bring in the high-profile games and we do our best bets. We do 2 podcasts a week wherever you find your podcast. It's called Sports Bettor's Paradise. It's free, so if you want just straight picks, you can listen. It's like 20 minutes. You can listen for picks, give about 6 to 8 picks, and on the high-profile games, and then our best bets. And then also you can also get information and angles and to help shape your handicapping if you're doing that as well. We do the work with the research for you. Here's Paul Stone. He's looking at who's going to state this weekend?
Texas A&M.
Aggies, by the way, look ahead spot, Charlie. What do you think they're favored over LSU, or if they are at all?
I believe 4.
3.5 currently right now. Our friends over at the Queen. Paul, so Mississippi State quietly, after really just burying their point spread value, including, where were they down, like 36-7 against Toledo at home? They've quietly been more competitive the last 2 weeks. In Austin against Texas, in Athens against Georgia. It's about as tough as you can play, the toughest places you can play these days. So here's Paul Stone talking about the Dogs at home. Maybe A&M look ahead spot to LSU next week. Paul Stone Sports.
You're listening to Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
Yeah, Mississippi State's 1-5 at the regular season's midpoint, and there's no question that they're 16th in the 16-team SEC pecking order at this point. But that certainly doesn't mean as better as the guys like you and I, turn a blind eye and deaf ear to the Bulldogs at the betting window. We'll take perceived value wherever we can find it. And I think Mississippi State, based on their recent performances on the road against Texas and Georgia, they're worth a look, getting more than 2 touchdowns here against Texas A&M. You talked about Jeff Lebby, their first-year head coach, the former offensive coordinator there at the University of Oklahoma, also Art Briles' son-in-law, for whatever that's worth. In their first 4 games, they didn't do anything to merit our wagering trust. The game against Toledo was really depressing from Mississippi State's standpoint. They unfortunately lost their quarterback, Blake Shapen, to injury for the season, but that opened the door for their true freshman quarterback, Michael Van Buren, a strong-armed guy, a one-time Oregon commit. So that shows you the kind of people that were after Van Buren to step in as the starter, and he's really starting to show some promise under center, to put it mildly. We talked about that Texas game a few weeks back. They only trailed Texas by 8 points late in the third quarter. And then last week, they lose between the hedges to Georgia 41-31. But Van Buren throws for 306 yards, 3 touchdowns against just 1 interception. So really like how he's starting to play as he gains experience. This Texas A&M team, we saw them in their season opener at home at Cal Field against Notre Dame. Didn't look very good in that game, but 5 straight victories. They have righted the ship, and they're certainly in the thick of the 12-team playoff chase at this point. But as you mentioned, Jimmy, they got that big game at home next week against LSU, waiting in the wings, giving up more than 2 touchdowns, on the road to a Mississippi State team that is ascending. I like Mississippi State plus 16.5 over Texas A&M.
The Bulldogs and the Aggies. Paul Stone likes Mississippi State plus the points. We'll take a break here at Ruffino's.
Yeah, don't forget our friends over at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big, with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow, including their newest branch at Burbank and Bluebonnet. Serving the people of southern Louisiana for over 50 years. At United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support the hardworking folks behind local business. From initial startup loans to ongoing planning and assessments, United Community Bank is here for you. A great team of bankers: Prentice Wilkes, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Greed, David Campbell, and David Henry. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
The Pierre Part store and the Thibodeau store, hardware and a whole lot more. Down at the Thibodeau store, unique items. If you're looking for a grill, got all different size grills. The big green egg cookers. They've got custom crawfish and jambalaya pots. A lot of Cypress furniture that is unique to their particular store. And if you're doing home improvements, there's no better place to get your supplies and some expert advice than the Thibodeau store. If you want to do it yourself, but you're not exactly sure how to proceed, let one of their experts walk you through one of these projects. You're going to be able to save some money. They won't have you buying supplies that you don't need. They won't have you wasting a lot of time. So for hand tools, for power tools, paint, concrete, electrical supplies, plumbing supplies, and if you want lumber delivered, they can do that out of the Pierre Part store location. Located 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, and online, it's ThibodeauStore.com.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bennett retired today at the University of Virginia. I know it's football season, but this is a big basketball story. 15 years at Virginia, 6 ACC regular season titles, 2 tournament titles, and the national championship in 2019. Did not pull any punches when he said, I look at myself and I am not the best guy to lead it in this current environment. I think it's right for athletes to receive revenue. Don't mistake me. But the game in college athletics is not in a healthy spot. There needs to be change, and it's not going to go back. I think I was equipped to do the job the old way. That's who I am. But this is closer to the professional model. There's got to be collective bargaining. There's got to be restrictions on the salary pool. There's got to be transfer regulation restrictions. There has to be some limits on agent involvement with these young guys. And I worry a lot about the mental health of the student athletes as this stuff comes down. I just realized this is it's not fair to these guys for me to continue to do this. You got to be all in. If you do it half-hearted, it's not fair to the university. So
fine and dandy. Not 3 weeks before the start of the season.
The timing of it blows my mind.
I love Tony Bennett, man. But, I mean, come on. You know, he didn't know all this 6 months ago?
Absolutely.
No, I can't. No, man. There's something. That's fine. Not 3 months before 3 weeks before the season starts.
Yeah.
No.
The timing of it is bizarre to me. The first thing you think is there a health problem? And they said, no, there's no health problem. There's no, just, I don't like the way college basketball is going right now. College athletics is going, and I'm retiring.
Yeah, but you owe more to the school to let them know before 3 weeks before the season.
I agree.
You care about the kids. I mean, that's not help. This doesn't help your season.
I'm completely with you.
It just, come on, man. I mean, and look, I respect the heck out of him. And he's right. And Virginia's a school that it's one of the top public universities every year. As its ranking, it's brutally tough to get into, and it's a great education. And they may bend a little bit, but they don't bend as much as some others. They don't bend as much as North Carolina. I'm sorry.
No.
They don't. And
did anybody else have fake classes?
But yes, compared to their academics, North Carolina is a wonderful school as well. Also top 10 every year, but man, let's face it. Come on, man. So they bend for their basketball players. I mean, Notre Dame. It's a big if what. Urban Meyer was all set. Catholic, man. I'm going there. I've done it. Utah. I'm going there. All right. How many academic exceptions I get every year? None. We're Notre Dame. Okay. See, I'm going to Florida. I mean, come on, man. You want to play? You don't want to play. And he was so good. Boy, they got some luck and some breaks in that run, boy. God, they were. But they have it. He's great. I think he's great, but man, not the timing.
Perfect speech in April. Back with hour number 3. Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's 104.5 ESPN Bet.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
And a return here at Rufino's, Lock of the Week Friday, Tex Morris, Edward Jones Investments, and we got a little Philadelphia freedom here. Bruce Marshall in
Bruce
Philly.
Is in Philly?
In Philly.
Oh, Bruce, what's going on?
Hey, well, I tell you, Philadelphia seems rather normal after being in L.A. last week. But my fall tour continues as I'm here. I'll actually be at the Temple-Tulsa game tomorrow. Now, explanation, I've got family and friends here. My godson went to Temple. It's homecoming tomorrow, so that's where I'll be. But I am in Philly, and actually the weather's kind of nice, so I'm happy.
There you go, Brucey. How you see the big one, Texas and Georgia. Georgia does not. It's not the same recipe that we've seen, and I think because Kirby, the defense is not as suffocating as it was. Just how good? We don't know. About the Mississippi State yards and penalties. We do know about Alabama. I'm sorry. Georgia's defense does not give up. That kind of yards and points on a normal basis. But they're not as good. They don't have the running game, so they've leaned on their passing attempts or more, and they got a kid who could throw it. Man, Beck is putting up some crazy numbers, and Texas looks good. They look good, but they've played nobody. Very, very light schedule to this point.
Yep, and I'll tell you, I don't mind Kirby sweating a little bit. I don't know, you guys, Jimmy, maybe Moscona's been down there the last couple of years at SEC Media Days, but, when you ask Kirby a question, he doesn't agree with anything you say. I could say, Kirby, the sky is blue. Well, sometimes it's red and sometimes it's purple. And then at night time it's black, so you can't say it's blue all the time. He always does that. So then he answers it. But whatever. But let me just throw this out on the table. Since 2021, so 3.5 seasons, the only team that's beaten Georgia has been Alabama. They're not 3 times. Nobody else has beaten them. So they still have a track record. I agree. It doesn't look like quite the Georgia team. They are not running the ball as effectively as the last couple of years, and the defense has sprung too many leaks. But I also think, the schedule for them, it seemed like they've been sort of riding the handbrake, and it was a little bit too much. They shouldn't have been as flat as they were at the outset of the Bama game. But they did come back on Bama, and they could have won that game. And I think that could be more the real Georgia. We will see about Texas here. It is not bad, a negative to beat up teams you should beat. However, I agree with you wholeheartedly that the schedule has been pretty soft. And beating Michigan and Oklahoma, I maintain, does not mean that much this year. I don't think either of those teams are going to end up ranked, and especially Oklahoma after falling behind last week. Ewers came back, but it was sort of a methodical game last week against Oklahoma. I don't know that Texas really shifted gears. I know they're good, but I think this line has moved a little bit too much away from Georgia. Like I said, I mean, if they die hard, and I think they could win this game. And by the way, the schedule, you talked about this before. Texas got the real break from the SEC schedule maker this year. If Georgia loses this game, no way they're going to play in the SEC title game. And 2 losses, probably for Georgia to get the playoff, but this is going to be dicey. A lot to be determined. So the best way to do it, stay alive, is win. I think Georgia wins this game. So I'm going to go 27-24. Georgia called a slight upset. They have not been an underdog since the opener of the 2021 season against Clemson. That's the game they won in Charlotte. I'm going to take Georgia.
Have you talked to Brett Norsworthy, our favorite Colonel Reb that contributes to our show since a tough loss in Tiger Stadium last week?
Yeah, they've draped WHBQ in black up there with the radio station. I'm going to see Brett next week. By the way, I'm going to Ole Miss, Oklahoma, so I'm going to see Brett next week.
I got you. What do you think about LSU bouncing back in a tough emotional spot after a very emotional win in Tiger Stadium last week?
Well, I'll tell you what. You look at this at the end of the game. You look at the stats, and you think, Nussmeier, not overwhelming, but I was overwhelmed late in the game. Some of those throws he made were clutch. I mean, he grew up to me. He's ready, I think, and he hasn't been having a bad year. And like we mentioned, I mean, he's still on course for about 34, 35 touchdown passes. That's not so bad. But that touchdown pass to Anderson, I mean, he had to put that thing right on the money to force overtime, and then a beautiful throw to win the game in overtime. He's growing up here. Now, my concern, this game, Arkansas, the last 4 years, every Arkansas-LSU game been decided by 3 points. So that's the recent track record here. It's probably going to be close. My gut feel is Arkansas could easily be 6-0 right now. But I have a feeling they're going to start to lose a little steam here. Taylor Green and the offense, I'm just not as convinced. I can see LSU on the ascent. We've said this before. This is sort of when Brian Kelly's LSU teams have sort of hit the accelerator at midseason the past couple of years, and pulling that one out against Ole Miss like that might be the launching pad game for LSU to take this thing in November. And they're another one of these teams. You don't want to be on 2 losses if you can avoid it. And right now they are sitting still undefeated in the SEC. I think they stay that way. And I'm going to go 31-24 LSU. And I'm keeping an eye on the Tigers with an arrow pointing up.
Give us a couple more games in the Power 4 games, so some of the main ones that you're looking at, Bruce.
Georgia Tech and Notre Dame. Now they're playing this one in the Georgia Dome, in the Dome down there. It's not on Georgia Tech. And, Haynes King, keep an eye here. There's supposedly a game-time decision for Brent Key.
Yeah, yes.
Arm, shoulder. He's been at practice this week. He hasn't been throwing much. Now, Zach Pyron, the backup, has started before. He won a game 2 years ago at Virginia Tech. He does a lot of the same things King does, and Brent Key believes they can win with Pyron if they have to. So that's a little iffy there. But otherwise, Notre Dame's got injuries too, especially on defense right now. You've got Key's track record as a dog, 13-4. I'm still not 13-4 as the Ducks has taken over for Jeff Collins. We've talked about this before. Jimmy and Charlie, they have won games outright as an underdog. If it is Pyron at quarterback, I will guarantee you this team is going to rally around him, and he can do some things. He's played. He's been in the program a few years, so I'm not sure it's going to be that much of a negative. And King makes some mistakes, too. So I'm not – either way, I think Georgia Tech's worth a shot here. One other note. One of Brent Key's early wins was over Duke and Riley Leonard 2 years ago when Leonard was at Duke. He completely flustered him in that game, and Georgia Tech won an upset, one of those key specials 2 years ago. So I'm going to take Georgia Tech plus the points here against Notre Dame, Pyron or King at quarterback. Sticking another ACC here, Clemson, Virginia. Now, Dabo has been coaching like he's mad at somebody other than Tyler from Spartanburg since he lost that game to Georgia. I mean,
That was good. That's good.
Look at those. Look what he's doing, and he heard it after the Georgia game. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins came out on the Twitter, the X, and I mean, he got maybe time to move on from Dabo. I mean, he has been running up some scores. And Klubnik, by the way, is sort of moving to the edge of the Heisman conversation. He's put up huge numbers: 17 TD passes, 1 pick the last 5 games. They have won them all. However, and they won them big. But all these teams they beat are having down years. App State is down this year. NC State is down this year. Stanford is down. We know Florida State's down. Wake Forest is down. Virginia is not down this year. And they hung in there last week. They could have won that game at Louisville. But Tony Elliott has kind of turned this thing around. I think sticking with Cullen Dree at quarterback has been good. And, yes, he was on Dabo's staff before he moved to Charlottesville. So some familiarity. You're getting 3 touchdowns here with the Wahoos. That is too much. So Dabo's going to win this game. He ain't going to win it by more than 3 touchdowns, I think. So I'm taking Virginia in this one tomorrow. It's an early kickoff in Death Valley.
Yeah, plus 21 right now over at the Queen, and Georgia Tech plus 9.5 in that one. Bruce, smaller conferences, some things that jump out at you.
One tonight, and it's in the Mountain West, Nevada. Not playing that badly here. Nice win over Oregon State last week. Jeff Choate, first-year coach, came in up here off Texas's staff, and he had actually done pretty well at Montana State before that, so he knows what he's doing. It's a big upgrade from Ken Wilson last year. Brendan Lewis, who was at Colorado before Dion, when Carl Dorrell was there, he's turned into a pretty good big play threat. Savion Red, transfer from Texas. They got a bunch of transfers there. He was well over 100 yards last week. He and Lewis together had almost 300 yards rushing against Oregon State. They got a big play offense, and they're coming around. There's a lot of momentum up there right now. There is not much momentum at Fresno. Tim Skipper is an interim coach, and this is about the time of the year when an interim coach, it starts to look like he may not stick. The staff starts looking around. The players start looking around. Well, they do it anyway these days, but more so. There might be a change there. And their momentum is, I mean, they got drilled by UNLV. They put up a pretty decent fight against Washington State and lost. I don't like the trajectory for Fresno. Nevada, underdog. They may win this game outright tonight, so I'll take Nevada. One more, sticking in the Mountain West tomorrow. New Mexico, very short price against Utah State. Utah State is an abomination. What happened with Blake Anderson there was a travesty. Nobody likes this new AD, Diana Sabal. Anderson is suing her and suing the school. Everybody I talk to hope Anderson wins. She's got an interim in there now, Nate Dreiling, who is totally overmatched. This is the worst team, I think, in the Mountain West. And New Mexico's coming on with Bronco Mendenhall. Look at Devin Dampier. I mean, he is really a playmaker. This team is almost perfectly balanced. It's 50-50 run pass. Dampier runs a lot. But on plays and in yardage, it's almost the same, and they are putting up a lot of points. Mendenhall knows what he's doing. I think this team gets to a bowl this year. They've won 2 in a row. They got a lot more offense. This is a cheap number. They're going to beat Utah State and beat them good tomorrow. So definitely go Lobos tomorrow.
There you go. Bruce, how do you see? You touched on a little bit on the possibilities of the playoff and things like that, and some. I think 9-3 SEC teams have a shot. They might not get in. They might. Well, I think 10-2 SEC teams, minus maybe a Missouri, that it's really a soft schedule. I think Texas, even at 10-2, as light as there with their branding and their preseason ranking, they'll get in. I mean, how are How are they ranked ahead of Oregon right now? You tell me Oregon doesn't have better wins against Boise State and Ohio State than Texas has right now. So it's interesting. But for instance, one scenario could be a 10-2 Indiana versus a 9-3 Ole Miss. How do you think that'll shake out?
Well, a good question. It might shake out in Ole Miss's favor, but it might be an 11-1 Indiana. So then, what do you do? And it's still a little too soon because there may be a bunch of one-loss teams. There's some in the ACC too. What about Pitt? What if Clemson keeps winning? Miami. I mean, there could be a real logjam. I do agree that when it comes down to a pretty even look, there might be they might lean a little to the SEC, but. It wasn't that apparent in the non-conference this year. I mean, LSU losing to SC doesn't look all that good for the SEC. I know it was in the opening game, but Georgia. If Georgia goes 9-3, let's say they lose at Ole Miss and say they lose tomorrow. I mean, that's 3 swings they took at good teams. They're all on the road. They lost them all. If that's the case, I'm not sure that's going to be good enough for them. I mean, maybe. I think they're one of the 12 best teams, but I don't know. It's still too soon to tell. I'm more fascinated by that 12th spot right now and what's going to happen with that. And if Liberty stays unbeaten, are they really going to go back to Liberty again? I'm not sure. I think it's too soon to tell on a lot of this, but I think you're right.
Oh, that's not happening. I mean, 12. Well, if Boise loses at UNLV, but I'll be surprised if the Liberty thing. They haven't looked good this year too, Bruce.
They haven't. No, they're not. And you got those. And listen, Tulane is not out of this thing yet. Even those are 2 decent losses they had, and they're not. Tulane would be favored over Liberty if they played them. So Tulane, Memphis, Army, Navy. You got the Mountain West teams. I mean, I think they're all better than Liberty this year, but. You just don't know. I mean, what are they going to do if, all those teams have multiple losses and Liberty's 0? But I agree with you. I hope they don't send Liberty back.
It's impossible to know which teams these would represent, but what would the committee think of a 10-3 team that lost the SEC championship game versus a 10-2 team that didn't go there? Because if you're a 10-2 team and you go to the SEC championship game, you'll have won a tiebreaker somewhere, probably. But you go and you lose to, say, a number 1 Texas who's undefeated, and you're 10-3. How do they look at a 10-3 team versus a 10-2 team?
We might find out in December. I would think they would give more lean to the team that made the conference championship game. I would think, but I don't know. It would seem that way. What if it's LSU and Texas in the championship game? And it's. And the LSU hits that scenario. What do they do? And then say, Bama or, Georgia sitting there with 2 losses. I don't know. I would think they may opt for the team that made the conference championship game, but that's one of these unknowns. This will start clearing up a little bit more each week. But there's a lot of different scenarios we can kick around right now, and no one knows how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, I'll still be surprised if Indiana, Connecticut didn't take anything away. They're not beating Ohio State. Are they going to run to the table? So they got about 3 50-50 games, including this week, that I'm not sure. Chances are they're not going to go 11-1. So we'll see. I think they had them on their projections at like 15 or 16 right now. Hey, man, Indiana's at least talking about it. That's enough for them. Give Wes Reynolds a little scrap. Don't give him the whole filet mignon. All right? Brucey, enjoy your stay in Philadelphia. Stay away from Nick Sirianni, or at least from criticizing Nick Sirianni. We don't want that. So we had to ship him off to New York this weekend for bad behavior. Thank you, Bruce. Safe travels, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, boys.
Live after 5 downtown with this great weather we got going on right now. Tonight's concert, this evening's concert, 5 to 7 p.m. Little Nathan and the Zydeco Big Timers. That's right, at the main stage at the S-Roar Plaza, Davis S-Roar Plaza. But we also have we piggyback, and we, on the tail end of it, we have our own music on the lawn right outside of Jolie Pearl. Jolie Pearl and Town Square Pizza downtown, facing Town Square. So it's a live entertainment. What a great day. Great weather to get out and about and go downtown. So if you're going downtown, meeting some people, not sure what the traffic's going to be or where to park exactly, but make your meeting place at Jolie Pearl. Also, get a little grab-and-go pizza. That's right. Get a pizza, go outside, and watch at the park and watch the music as well. So, and don't forget, it is now to try and schedule your holiday parties for Jolie Pearl. Call us up at Jolie Pearl. It's not just the regular menu. We have a whole different, extensive party, banquet, wedding. So, banquet menu. So, do it all different sizes of parties. You name it, just off to a couple tables, do the whole side, do the whole facility, you name it. We've got a lot of flexibility with our menu, our drinks, and also with the size of the venue. Again, holiday parties at that historic landmark building downtown, Jolie Pearl, we're pretty shucking good.
Lock of the Week Friday presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Charles Hannegriff's 5-pack of picks. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Make sure you use Louisiana rice, grown by Louisiana farmers since 1936. Available at most local grocery stores. Supreme Rice.
All right, 3-2 last week. I really thought I was going to cover with Kansas State when they had a 10-point lead in the ball in the fourth quarter, but give Colorado credit. They came back and scored 2 touchdowns.
Washington State lost?
No, they won. They covered. One with
Washington.
No, I lost with Kansas State, and I lost with
you had LSU, Oregon, Washington State.
No, I had Ohio State.
You had Ohio State. I had the wrong team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lost the head bob there, but probably won the head bob with.
You were going to kick a field goal, Charlie. They were 7 lead changes in that game.
That's what I'm saying. It was a head bob game, and I lost it. That's
but
fine.
you weren't going to win it you weren't going to cover with a field goal.
Give me another minute and they scored a touchdown.
You think they were going to play for a touchdown?
If there would have been a little bit more time left. No, I lost out, but I felt like I won a head bob with Washington State. They were going back and forth with Fresno State, and I got the last score in that one.
You
so
did?
It was about right. I thought my record was fair last week.
No, LSU.
LSU I probably should have lost, and I thought Kansas State I should have won. 2-score lead in the ball in the fourth quarter.
20-15. We'll take it. That's good.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to it.
Here we go. Love Auburn. I got a shirt printed up that says "I love Tex Morris" on the front and "More Damn Eagle" on the back. I love this spot for Auburn. They are due. Your record's what says you are. I get it, but they look better than 2-4. Forget the 2 rental wins. Lost 1 to Cal, who's better than we thought. Lost the turnover battle by 5. Lost the game by 7. Lost 2 to Arkansas. They win the yardstick by 100, lose the turnover battle 5-2. They lose by 10 at home. Lost 3. Up 11 in the fourth quarter. 11 minutes to go. Auburn with the ball in Oklahoma territory. You know what happened. Missed field goal. Touchdown Oklahoma. Pick 6. Turnover on downs. Field goal. Auburn stopped short at the end, just kind of like Frank Costanza, Win the yardstick by almost 200, and 1 turnover is the difference in the loss. And then loss number 4, Texas probably dying with this recap here. Fourth quarter in Athens, down by 11, 7-play drive stop. Georgia ends up winning 31-13. Looked like a lot worse than it actually was. Auburn only lost the yardstick there by 44, a little closer than the score indicated. They should have won 1, 2, maybe even 3 of those games. They got a week off. They're about ready to kill somebody. Missouri's not bad, but a little bit overrated. They're getting a lot more credit for beating Ohio State's JV and then opening up 89-0 on 2 rental win games against Murray State and Buffalo. Wins against Boston College and Vanderbilt were hardly comfortable. 2 weeks ago, A&M pantsed them. Last week's vacation to Amherst doesn't sway me at all. Auburn coming off the bye. Did I mention that? War Damn Eagle. I love Auburn in this spot tomorrow. Second game. All of these games are at 11 o'clock, by the way. I didn't plan it that way. It just turned out that way. Nebraska plus 6.5 at Indiana. Like both of these coaches, this is about resume. Indiana's road wins at UCLA and Northwestern, along with a home win against Maryland. Not quite as good, in my opinion, as wins against Rutgers and Colorado, and a close loss to Illinois. Indiana's undefeated. They're at home. This just looks like too many points to me. It feels like a field goal game one way or the other. Give me big red in the points. Nebraska plus 6.5. Louisville at home catching 5 here. I like the home dog. Louisville battle-tested. Georgia Tech and Virginia wins are nice. Notre Dame and SMU, and it was SMU after the quarterback change. They lost to Miami, despite what the yardstick shows, could have and maybe should have lost their last 2 games. Miami, I'm talking about, they needed a week off. So that concerns me some, but this looks like a field goal game. I'll take Louisville plus the 5 here against Miami. UCLA plus 5 points at Rutgers. I'd like to make some excuses for UCLA, if you'll indulge me here for a second. Last loss to Minnesota, the Gophers got outgained by 95. UCLA had 5 times as many penalties. That's not a joke. And lost the turnover battle 3-0 and only lost by 4. Lost before that at Penn State by 16. They only lost to Yardstick by 62. Penn State's pretty good. Before that, Oregon beat the crap out of them, but Oregon's really good too. I may be talking myself out of my own pick, but I think UCLA is ascending a little bit. Rutgers has scored 14 points in 2 games. They lost them both. Probably should have lost the one before that to Washington, too. They're going in the wrong direction. I think UCLA is going in the right direction. Despite what their records are, I'm going to take the Bruins and the 5 points. And just to show you I'm not anti-aristocrat here, I'll take one favorite. Give me Cincinnati minus 5.5 against Arizona State. I like this even before Arizona State's starting quarterback was ruled out. This is a tough spot for the Sun Devils. They have expended quite a bit of energy the last 2 weeks. They scored with 16 seconds to go to beat Kansas to win that game 35-31. Last week, field rush after they beat Utah. That's the highest-ranked win for the Sun Devils in 5 years. Now you're sending them 1,800 miles east through 2 time zones to play an 11 o'clock game in Cincinnati. Look, I like the running back, young Hester. Rob Dillingham's done a great job. They're fun to watch. They play hard. But I like Wazoo, too, and we went against them in a tough spot at Boise State. This is kind of the same thing here. I think this is a bit too much to ask. The Sun Devils, Cincinnati, nice win at Central Florida last week off the bye. Close loss at Texas Tech where they outgained them. Close loss to Pitt, joined the club. Bearcats coming home for their first home game in a month. Like the spot for Cincinnati here. And then Arizona State is down a quarterback. So Cincinnati minus 5-1 favorite that I'll take this week.
All right, Auburn plus 4. That Missouri schedule. I think their success last year was a little bit schedule related, and this year as well. Nebraska, a plus 6.5. Again, Indiana's 6-0 against the spread.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the D. Dallas effect, they're juicing that up a little bit, so that might be a little bit inflated line. Louisville, I'm stuck on that one. I'm not. It wouldn't surprise me if Miami comes out with their best punch. Louisville has not been impressive. They had 2 rental wins. Their next 4 games, they're 1-3 against the spread, and the one that they did cover against Georgia Tech, they had no business covering. So I'm wondering if they are proud of their preseason value was a little stronger than maybe what they are right now. And Miami had a week off from their close calls against Virginia Tech and Cal to kind of reset. Will they come back and be a little bit more focused and or just is a spot? I'm stuck on that one. And UCLA is getting better. They won the box score, Charlie, against Minnesota. They were unable to hang on to that win. Minnesota scores late to win it. And yes, no sin to lose close to Pitt this year with the Cincinnati Bearcats. A lot of people. Cal, the latest victim last week. So, hey, don't forget Charlie's Picks brought to you by Supreme Rice. You boil your rice or you steam your rice at home. He's like, man, why can't I get my rice with that restaurant quality? Well, you got to check to get the Supreme Rice, the parboil rice. Parboil rice, it's relatively new on the shelves alongside all of the other Supreme Rice products in our Baton Rouge area grocery stores. So love it, man. Big, firm rice, like a long grain rice, and then some. It's just really good and doesn't have as much as that residue when you're kind of rinsing it off as well. Love my parboiled rice. It's my favorite rice right now from Supreme Rice, available in just about all Baton Rouge area grocery stores.
Jimmy's Picks coming straight ahead here at Ruffino's. Lock of the Week Friday presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy Ott's 5-pack of picks, brought to you by Supreme Rice. Make sure you use Louisiana rice, grown by Louisiana farmers since 1936. Available at most local grocery stores. Supreme Rice.
All right, rough week for me last week. So, Charlie, let's see exactly what it was.
1-4.
Yes. I knew it was bad. Georgia Tech won, and then Stanford they look terrible against Notre Dame. Kentucky loses to Vanderbilt outright as a double-digit favorite. Washington gets routed. So these were not really close. So there you go. Let's move on. We're now 18-17, one game over 500 for the season. Oregon State plus the 6.5. This is just too much for this team that's not used to playing for a whole lot. They are playing for a whole lot. They did make it to the Mountain West Conference Championship game, but they were talking about possible playoff berth. And UNLV, Oregon State did not look great in Reno last week. Certainly Vegas doesn't respect anything coming out of Reno. It's a tough spot. They've been talking about this Boise State for quite some time. The classic look-ahead spot, even on this level. Give me the Beavers plus 6.5 at home, by the way, against the Rebels. Didn't say the running Rebels. Chris corrected me on that. That's only for the basketball team. Willie Fritz in Houston. Well, they're trying to get that low win total this year. He inherited a rough roster. They got handed to him pretty good, but they pulled off a win. Okay, maybe Willie Fritz's team is improving. Well, maybe they are, but it was not without help a couple of Friday nights ago in that road win at Fort Worth against TCU. TCU had 4 turnovers. Houston had 0. Kansas, it's been bad. It's 1-5, but the 5 losses, 4 of them are by 1 score. The 5th is only by 9 points. Kansas has a better roster. Yes, they've been one of the big disappointments in the Big 12, but at home they'll take care of business against an inferior roster in Houston, Kansas, minus 5.5. Michigan, I'm puzzled at this line and puzzled at the movement. But Michigan opened up a slight favorite at Illinois in Champaign. I think these two teams are very, very close. Certainly, Illinois has a much better quarterback, and the Ole Miss transfer, and Altmaier, second year starting, so he's good, and he has been playing well. What's it, like 14 touchdowns, only 1 interception? I mean, really been playing well this season. They got tripped up one time, but no big deal. They also got a win at Lincoln on a Friday night. And then Michigan is dead last out of the 134 Division I teams, last in passing. We know they're one-dimensional. Bielema is too smart of a coach to not take advantage of that. It's going to be low-scoring, but how are we getting +4 at home? You got a little bit of motivation as well. Illinois got their shot at Michigan. This is this is it. Michigan lost a lot. Not the team. They're not even close to what they were last year. Illinois +4 on moneyline alert in that one. And yes, Indiana, it's Kirk Cignetti. He's my national coach of the year right now. How do you give it to anybody else? I mean, you go and win at Indiana? I mean, my goodness, he's 6-0. Have they played anybody? They have not, but they have taken care of business in playing as a Maryland came in there, and Maryland traded scores with them. It was very competitive, certainly on a talent level. Nebraska's better than Maryland. Nebraska's going in there. This is an even game on a neutral field. Give the Indiana home crowd maybe 3. It's not like Tiger Stadium or anything. They have been more into it. Everybody loves a winner. They've been traveling lately for the Hoosiers. But Nebraska +6.5, and also it's stylistically. Matt Rule plays a style that it lends itself to close games. With the Huskers +6.5, piggybacking on Charlie's pick as well. And then USC. USC was terrible offense. Same old Lincoln Riley and USC, right? Heisman Trophy winner and Caleb Williams. I mean, they had a lot of offense. He did his thing, but they gave up a ton of defense. Well, they brought in a new defense coordinator. That's fine. They brought him some new players as well. Well, one of them quit. He wanted a red shirt after 4 games. Said, no, not as excited as I thought I would be. Pushed me off till next year. Now they lost 2 more defensive players this week. That is their top tackler. He's out for the season. And another player as well, an edge rusher. Can you see the handwriting on the wall? They kind of this NIL-based roster kind of losing it a little bit. How excited are they to play, to go coast to coast to play the Maryland Terrapins? Give me the Terrapins, Turtles at home. They were embarrassed, to say the least, last week at home by Northwestern. probably the biggest spread differential in all of college football last week. They're a double-digit favorite, and they got housed by 27 to lowly Northwestern. Give me the Turtles plus a 7. Also like Charlie's Auburn plus 4. Charlie talked about all the spots that I agree with. And again, it's not so much in the record, but they are getting a little bit better. And Hugh Freeze is safe. He's going to be there for a couple more years, win, lose, or draw. So, and Missouri just that inflated record last year, schedule related. How about the bowl game? They played Ohio State's JV. Great, you beat them. You're not beating them on the square. We know that. And so I think this Missouri, you look at it, ranked team, slight favorite at home against this record. Now the line's telling you that they respect Auburn as well in this spot. Coming off a bye, that helps as well. So just don't throw a pick six to a linebacker with the game on the line late. That's all we ask. And we should take care of business. A money line alert there as well. Oregon State, Kansas, Illinois, Nebraska, and Maryland.
I love Kansas. And I almost picked that game myself. I'm trying to remember why I didn't, because not only they're 1-5, they have led in the fourth quarter of every one of those games. They have led as late as Arizona State scored with 16 seconds to go to beat them. They had a 2-score lead in Morgantown and lost to West Virginia. I mean, they've been right there, and they just haven't been able to finish them off any of those games. I think Houston, I admire the hell out of Willie Fritz. We both do, but I think Kansas is just due to take out their frustrations on somebody, and I think the Cougars are in the way.
I do too. Kansas and Oklahoma State, and that's interesting tonight. Oklahoma State at going to BYU, and it's kind of a soft line. And BYU is tough to play. I mean, and I gotta go back. I mean, was Gundy trying to tell us something when he went public with those comments, or we just thought it was Gundy being Gundy, just running, firing things off at the mouth that just nobody else in college football in that position will say. But, I mean, if he was talking about that, he was aggravated with the NIL conversations once they were in August camp. Maybe he was trying to tell us something. But I'll tell you what, some signs I'm not ignoring. That's what said that USC. I mean, come on now. USC, man, they were fired up leaving Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Here we go. USC's back. We're back. The whole thing. And they brought their crowd. It was a good crowd that they brought up. Most of them came up the day of or the day before the game. But, I mean, they kind of bailing out, huh? A little bit.
It's one of those teams where their record could so easily be 2 games different than what it is. The game against Minnesota, lousy call maybe.
Michigan game for sure. They should have won the Michigan game.
The Michigan game, the Penn State game. They give up 3 separate leads in the second half. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of imagination to get them to 6-0, but your record is what you said it is. Your record is what you are. You're 3-3. But yeah, they're starting to talk about Lincoln Riley a little bit more. Like what we expected more than this. We're paying for more.
Oh, you're paying for more than that, and they have stepped up to the plate with giving him budget, facilities, salary. No, they stepped up in a big way. Man, there's something about a guy who was running away from competition. I mean, he didn't want any part of the SEC. LSU came with an offer. He could have come here. He didn't want it. Things were easy in the Big 12. Well, the Big 12, they're going to the SEC eventually. He goes to USC. I mean, now all of a sudden, USC's in a tougher conference in the Big 10. So it just and then I mean the defense and I don't know. I'd be wondering as well. And he might be a great offense coordinator, not a good head coach.
Yeah, and I don't know if this factors in or not, but this is their 3rd long trip in 6 weeks. They went to Michigan, they went to Minnesota, cross-country trip to Maryland. I mean, I don't know if that wears on them after a while. It would wear on me, but I'm a lot older than those kids.
But the thing is, Charlie, They wear on you more when you're struggling.
Yeah.
Practice sucks when you're struggling. Yeah. You're fine when Indiana. They can't wait to get out to the practice
field. They go play on Neptune right now.
It's kind of like that guy. Man, his basketball player. I don't know, man. He looks a little injured. Man, well, he just popped 3 jumpers in a row. He looks just fine. Okay,
I bet you Devontae Adams is healthy on Sunday.
The wide receiver who makes the great catch is never hurt. Yeah. It's always the one that drops the ball.
You think Devontae Adams will play Sunday? That hamstring?
Oh,
miraculously.
And then that piece of with Rodgers. He got so and so's a fountain of youth. Oh, yeah, it's a miracle. Rodgers, same point production. This many games into the season as they had last year. Mm-hmm. With those quarterbacks, so. It's everybody else's fault. Here's one tonight, too. Oregon, are they going to have a little bit of a hangover from last week, or is Purdue worth a damn at all? Well, Purdue had a first-time starter, a freshman. He threw for 9 yards the first half. He threw for 288 in the second half. They scored 40 points in the second half against a solid defensive team in Illinois. 6 more in overtime. They went for 2. And he got thrown for about a 30-yard loss and a 2-point conversion. But is Purdue a little bit of a live dog here at plus 30? That 30 is a lot.
Yeah, live dog to cover.
That's what I mean. No, Charlie, I'm bailing out of the money line on Purdue.
Yeah, well, when you said live dog, come on.
That's what we're talking about, the points.
Yeah,
Charlie.
Yeah. I didn't see any of that second half against Illinois. The score certainly caught my attention.
They took the lead by 3 with basically, I think it was 28 seconds to go. Illinois was lucky to get into position, tie a field goal, and send it in overtime at that point. Mm-hmm. I mean, at halftime, they were looking ahead. And how do you respect a guy threw for 9 yards in the first half? But is that a fluke? Or is that something to build on? They know they got the quarterback who's better than Hudson Card, the Texas transfer.
Yeah, they got an onside kick in that game, didn't they? Inside of a minute.
Man, it was coming left and right
because it was 40-28 at the 2-minute mark. I'm sorry, the 5-minute mark, and then they scored with 1:35 to go, and scored again with 46 seconds. So they either got an onside kick or they got a turnover. I don't know exactly how the game played out.
Your money line parlay. What are they, Charlie?
Army, Navy, Whiskey, Tulane.
Well, not Whiskey, but the other 3. Army, Navy, Tulane. Army, Navy, Tulane. And we're going to throw another one in there, 2 other ones in there. Iowa State and Cal. Both at home. Both much better teams than the teams that are visiting. And both are still plugging away and playing good. So I think in Army, Navy, they don't get big-headed about anything. Okay, they're not getting patted on the rear end how great they are around campus at those 2 places. So a lot of fun. Take a time out. Don't forget our friends over at Legacy Title, Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title, for all your real estate closings. 296-0060. Full service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Great staff: Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody choose but you. Chad Reynolds, the Legacy Title. Max's picks when we come back. Lock of the week.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris of Edward Jones Investments. Now, back to Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, worst week of the year. Worst week all time, I think, for me. 1-4 last week, dropped me to 15-20 for the season. Going to start off tonight with an odd one. Friday night game, Oklahoma State plus 9.5 at BYU. I think BYU is due for regression. They've had a lot of turnover luck this year. Oklahoma State off a bye week, making a quarterback change. So I think that'll rejuvenate this team that needs it. Garrett Rangel will get the start over Alan Bowman, who's been really bad. So I'm expecting BYU to fall at some point. They've been undefeated against the spread. I'll take the Cowboys plus 9.5 tonight. Florida Atlantic plus 6.5 at UTSA. Tom Herman 22-7 against the spread all time as an underdog as a head coach. UTSA doesn't deserve to be laying points against anybody. Their wins this year came against Houston Christian and Kennesaw State. Colorado plus 2.5 at Arizona. Expecting to see Travis Hunter in this game. They think he's going to be a full go. That should shut down McMillan, who's one of the best receivers in the game. Noah Fafita's really gone downhill this year. A lot of interceptions, more interceptions than turnovers. Shedeur Sanders has been outstanding. I think Colorado goes on the road and gets the dub. I'll take the 2.5 points there against Arizona. Ball State plus 27 at Vanderbilt. Ball State, the worst team in yards per play defense, but Vanderbilt, this is the hangover spot for them. And Diego Pavia was coming up a little hobbled last game against Kentucky toward the end of the game. I don't think their offense will be humming quite as much. Ball State's shown a willingness to score a little bit. They had 37 last week, put up 42 against Western Michigan, so they're willing to score a little bit. I think that'll be enough to keep them in this game inside the 27. Vanderbilt struggled under Clark Lee laying a big number. Not that they've done it much, but they lost to Georgia State earlier this year. And then finally, my lock of the week, EJ and his fraternity will enjoy this one, Jimmy. Alabama -3 against Tennessee. Alabama, their stock's not going to get any lower than it is this week. And Tennessee's defense, their secondary is especially vulnerable. They also lost their linebacker, their team captain, Keenan Piley, for the season with a torn ACL. He's the one who gets the calls in from the sideline. I think that affects things a little bit. I just don't see them stopping Jalen Milroe's deep ball, which is probably the best in the country. Meanwhile, Tennessee, Bama's defense is very vulnerable, but we haven't seen it from Nico Iamaleava in SEC play. So I think this is a really good spot here for Alabama at a low point. Will liked it under 3 earlier in the week, but I'll lay the field goal this week against Tennessee.
Who's Vandy got next week? It's a conference game, huh?
Yeah, this is a random non-con game. Next week they have Texas. Next week they have Texas.
Look ahead, Lon. Texas is 20 at Vanderbilt. Yeah, tough spot there after Alabama and Kentucky and before Texas. Yeah, I'd say Ball State. Even Vanderbilt might be looking past that.
Thanks, everybody, for participating. We will be on air tomorrow at 1 o'clock for Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Sunday, Football Sunday from the Beaurivage at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. For Max, for Jimmy Jordan back in the studio, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. This has been Lock of the Week Friday presented by Tex Morris and Edward Jones Investments from Rapinos.
Live at lunch.